It's been 10 years.
Waiting! Everyone does it? Nobody likes it. Whether it's waiting in line, waiting for a product, or waiting 30 minutes when the black man said 5 minutes, everyone's gone through it. When it comes to video games, I think everyone has that one game they've waited years for. Getting excited at an announcement trailer and waiting as the seasons change, it's nothing! And the seasons change again, it's nothing! And the seasons change yet again, it's nothing! Is something most people who play video games have at least one story about. I know I remember being there in 2014 for that first trailer of Zelda for Wii U and got to play it when it dropped only 3 years later. Rinse and repeat for Tears of the Kingdom. Metroid Prime 4, revealed in 2017, restarted in 2019, and coming out a mere 8 years later. God damn, this was revealed during a Trump presidency, and it's coming out during I can only praise so much for the ones who got excited to wait for these ones. Silksong. But one of the most iconic, long-awaited games has to be Duke Nukem Forever. I don't like a about Duke Nukem. Hi, hello, I'm BDon, that's my name, and I'm gonna make this about me now. Pikmin 4 was one hell of a painful hype cycle. It was reported to be nearing completion in 2015, and after years of nothing new, I said nothing, I said new. It took 7 years for the game to finally come out. Kingdom Hearts 3 was announced in 2013 and took a hot minute to release in January 2019. And then they announced Kingdom Hearts 4 in 2022. Square Enix as a whole has had the tendency to make me wait a while. They took their sweet ass time to show off some of these Dragon Quest games. But if there's one game whose development cycle has raked me over the coals, one game I've been there for every single step on said coals, one game I have been waiting for a long time. One game has been in development from me being an adolescent to me being an adult, with a debatable amount of sense. It has got to be my pentagonal black and white whale, Inazuma 11 Air Victory Road. For anyone who sees this and thinks, I thought only Mario could do that. Inazuma 11. This is an anime JRPG franchise about soccer, but not just soccer, super-powered, crazy, super-dimensional soccer, or as they say colloquially, Chojigen Soccer! Developed by Level 5 and headed by the mind of Akihiro Hino, it's got crazy superpowers, crazier plot lines, and decidedly less crazy characters, except for the ones that are completely f***ing crazy! The series began in 2008 with a trilogy on the DS. There was then a sequel trilogy on the 3DS. Each entry had a corresponding anime adaptation, one that I think is one of the best game to anime adaptations I've ever seen. And whether it's the game or the anime, many people have fallen in love with Inazuma 11 as a franchise, me included. It's fun, charming, and anime as all hell. Luckily, it's anime as all hell, and not anime as all hell. After Galaxy, the series made the jump to the consoles with Inazuma 11 Victory Road, which, ain't that about a bitch? To anyone wondering, how does that happen? Well, let me tell you how this happens! The first look at what will become 10 years of my life came in May 2016. Getting this out of the way now. Which was a tease of a singular character design. Known as Ryohei Haizaki, he was the first thing we saw of what would become the Inazuma 11 Ares project. For a little while, all we got was this edgy boy and a promise of a return to form. See, in the 3DS Inazuma 11 Go trilogy, the series started getting really gimmicky. Much like how Pokemon X and Y and onwards always had a new gameplay gimmick, Inazuma was much the same. There was the Keshin, fighting spirits you could summon that were quite simply broken and unfun to play with. Then in the next game, Chrono Stone, characters could wear the Keshin as armor, and also an unrelated gimmick where characters could fuse with each other and power up in a gimmick called Mixie Max. Both gimmicks were simply quite broken and unfun to play with. Then in Galaxy, characters could summon the souls of animals and other creatures, turning into them during matches. A gimmick which was quite, not that broken, but still pretty unfun to play with. It was too much. Opinions on them are split, and I personally hate them all to various degrees. Akihiro Hino promised the new game would have none of that bullshit, along with no time travel or planet hopping. These were really weird and bad. And be pure, fundamental Inazuma soccer, and I could not have been happier about that fact. It was set to be revealed in the Level 5 Vision that July, previewing a few more character designs and locations in a June livestream, and confirming a week before the showing that Goenji was set to appear at some point in the game. Whoa, holy shit, guys, Goenji is in! Yes! Level 5 Vision. These were the company's press conference events where they'd show off their new projects. They would usually air solely for a Japanese audience, and I never had the investment to look up what was in them until the one in 2016. This is where they properly announced Inazuma 11 Aries, the next entry in the franchise. It was an animated trailer by the usual studio, introducing the premise of the series and the characters. Aries was an alternate timeline story where the event of Inazuma 11 2 never happened. It starred Asuto Inamori, a striker of a remote island soccer team who loves playing soccer in the sun with his friends. The fun doesn't last, as due to the world of soccer becoming more merchandised, teams are required to have sponsors to play. Their little small town doesn't have a sponsor, so their field gets destroyed. Asta was shown having the worst day of all time, losing both soccer and his mom in one fell swoop. The members of Inakuni Island soccer team are sent to the mainland to be the new Raimon team and bring soccer back to the island, along with their new teammate Sasuke Kozomaru, who knows the fire tornado. Whoa, holy shit guys, he's like Goenji! Along with the main team, the first trailer also gave us our first look at the other protagonists, Ryohei Hyzaki, the guy from the picture, and Yuma Nosaka, with his weird dead empty eyes. To really emphasize the alternate universe nature of Aries, the trailer ended with the reveal of Shiro Fubuki from the original series as well as his brother Atsuya. In the main continuity, Atsuya is dead, but since this is an alternate timeline story, storylines can be different without risking messing up narrative decisions made by the original storyline. Why? Here in Aries, the Fubuki brothers are present and accounted for. How cool! Pun entirely intended. Immediately upon the first trailer, comparisons could be made to the original season, but aspects like the multiple protagonists promised new twists on the familiar setup. I remember exactly where I was when I watched this trailer. I was in my high school computer science class, and being so hyped for it, I was distracted that my teacher came by and said, "Brandon, you of all people can't afford to be distracted like this." I was pretty computer science. I majored in it in college. That was a fucking mistake. Inazuma 11 Aries was gonna be this big cross-media project for them, as has worked previously with the Yokai Watch Empire. Along with the game, there was an anime adaptation planned, along with these extra locker room shorts, multiple manga, toys, merch, and the 11 band, a special accessory that was both featured in the anime to transmit messages and track health, as well as a real-life item that would have NSC support for the inevitable game. Set for a 2017 release date, it had a strong initial showing with a lot of promise. I love the design of the protagonist teams as well as Hyzaki and Nosaka, and it seemed to have some really interesting ideas with a sponsorship system and delving more into the corporate side of soccer in this world. I was into it. I was still a bit of a new-ish fan at the time, only getting the series in 2014, so I really only waited 2 years for more news on the franchise, but still, it was exciting to see all the shakeups and changes. Tangent time! I just need a second to talk about Inakuni Raimon because I've never had a set of character designs instantly resonate with me like these ones did. I always loved Takuzo Nagano's work on Inazuma and other level 5 franchises, and he did a phenomenal job with these. Something about the color palettes all put together is super pleasing. There's a nice flow of blues to the purples with dashes of brown and monochromes. The body type and skin color variety is as on point as ever, and there's lots of standouts here. Hiyori's fun hat, wide white hair, and big ass eyes have a really nice little goober energy to them. I love Ninja Boy Hanta Hattori over here. Golem keeps up the trend of the legally mandated big boy in the team, and he's so wide and goofy looking, I love it. Inazuma isn't the same without these goofy designs. Mansaku's popped collar and wavy hair in that style sell that cool guy look. Goljin's small pupils and general facial structure let him be super expressive, and Kozomaru is so unique. While his spiky hair obviously evokes Goenji, him being a short and fat striker is super novel for the series. But my number one will always and forever be my girly Norika. I love her! Sometimes it feels like with the goalies, they make the kit around the specific character, and here it works so well. The purple and blue goes great with her color scheme. Her having the fairest skin on the group feels deliberate, and combined with her fun poofy hair, sells that sea aesthetic perfectly. I love her! Norika is one of my favorite character designs in the franchise. I love her! And this team as a collective may just be my favorite design team in the series. They're at least my favorite design protagonist team. Even the ones I'm not super crazy about like Michinari or Okuiri feel like they complement the lineup perfectly. It all hits here, not a single miss in sight. Upon reveal, Aries had me super hyped and I couldn't wait to see more. But actually I could wait because I had to wait, because then a lot of nothing happened for most of 2016. Damn. Throughout the launch year of the brand new Nintendo Switch, there was a mild to moderately concerning amount of news. Wasn't fully dry, sure. It was mainly little tidbits of news about the anime, rather than anything fully substantial about the game. Hino hosted live streams called the Inazuma Walkers, where he would periodically give out new information about Aries. I remember catching these, and with me not knowing Japanese, I was doing a lot of ear craning, waiting for proper nouns, and popping off when I saw images. The Walkers technically started in 2016, but there was f*** all to chew on with those first few. Some small announcements here and there, and a couple of characters, most notably the new version of Hiroto Kira, which I remember seeing this design for the first time and having a very hearty what the f***. Allow me to explain. In the original series, Hiroto looked like this. Or more accurately, he looked like this. But much like Atsuya, alternate timeline, he can do whatever he wants. See, in the original timeline, the whole story was that Hiroto was dead, and his dad, Seijiro Kira, runs an orphanage called Ohisama Inn, and one of his orphans was a spitting image of Hiroto, so he named him Hiroto after his dead son. So in the original, this guy is known as Hiroto Kiyama. But in the Aries timeline, since Hiroto Kira is alive, the OG character who was Hiroto Kiyama is now named Tatsuya Kiyama, and Hiroto looks like this to differentiate himself. And differentiate he does, because this is a wild look. Hiroto's new design is a lot. The crazy streaked gray hair, the lightning bolt tattoo thing, his fashion. This design says a lot. It's so deliberately try hard. His attitude perfectly sells the crazy ass design they gave him, and I was hyped to see more of this character, as well as the Sun Garden character in the timeline where Alien Academy wasn't a thing. Even if they weren't showing much new game info in the walkers, I like seeing new character designs and concepts, as well as small pieces of anime and game news that would be sprinkled in not nearly enough looking back. I recall them spending a lot of time not saying what console the game would be on, and once they showed any image whatsoever of the game, everyone nodded their heads and said, yeah, they're waiting for the next Nintendo console, the NX. It was announced prior for the 3DS, in line with the previous Go games, but Hino kept implying it could come to the PS4, the stronger Nintendo home console, and mobile. Ew! It's 2017, I hate mobile games. I'll play this, I guess, it's simple and easy. Around this time, Live invested heavily in the mobile game market, so the idea of playing a shitty version of Inazuma 11 on a mobile phone sounded completely plausible, while also sounding f***ing gross. Hino would later preview some character models and animations, saying without saying that Aries was going to be graphically overhauled from the previous entries, which while it did nuke the previously confirmed 3DS release, was exciting to me, as it was a sign of the series moving forward into the console space. The Walkers were also where they would periodically release these short episodes to lead into Aries. Known as Inazuma 11 Outer Code, these 6 episodes serve to set up characters and lead into the main show directly. The first 4 are neat, setting up Hakuren focusing on Atsuya, and revealing Somayoka, as well as teasing this nice Shiratoya girl. Eisei setting up Hiroto, Teikoku setting up Kazemaru being on the team, woo! And Kageyama is back. And Zeus, who got just about as much screen time here as they did in the actual show. Outer Code revealed that Raimon was being sent to other schools to reinforce their teams and strengthen Japan's soccer as a whole, which explains Somayoka and Hakuren, and Kido and Seisho. These episodes were good, but the last 2 are my favorites for being stupid slice of life bullshit. One has Kido trying to tell his dad about Raimon's loss to Barcelona Orb, while getting distracted by the devilishly delicious food made by their butler Hakamada. And my personal favorite is the last one, where Goenji, Kabayama, and Fudo get haircuts from this funny barber dude. It rules! These episodes made me realize that I would love a series that's nothing but slice of life bullshit in the Inazuma universe. While the Outer Code episodes were an expected thing, getting actual game info was an unexpected rarity and once in a blue moon. Holy shit, that's a trailer! The second Aries trailer was focused entirely on showcasing the characters and some story beats. Here we got our first look at Zeus, we saw that Goenji was now a part of Kidokawa Seishu, and officially saw Kido as part of Seisho, Haizaki's team. And there's one new character, Noboru Sakanoe, whose team from Tonegawa Tosen featured a mysteriously labeled legendary goalkeeper. I wonder who that could be. Why did they bother even trying to hide this? Like, who else was it gonna be?
No way, it's moving, Goal Guy?
We also got our first look at a lot of the sponsors for the teams, which mostly didn't say much, but Zeus being sponsored by God Bull was very funny. None of the trailer footage was used for the anime, which led me to believe that these would have been used for the in-game cutscenes, especially since it had that gradient tint thing that was always at the top of the game cutscenes. This is the thing, right? I'm not just saying things. It was a really hype trailer at the time, but in hindsight, it really didn't show much of anything for someone like me who was watching all the walkers. For the average layman, sure, but for me, yeah, just some characters, nice hearing their voices. It built some intrigue and got me excited to see the full breadth of these characters and the scales of Ares, whatever that ended up being. But it didn't get my brain juices flowing all that much. This Walker stream also confirmed that there would be a special episode bridging the gap between the end of the first arc and the new Ares storyline. And it brought the first in what will become a staple for the production. The anime was delayed from the summer of 2017 to October of 2017. Oh, that doesn't happen again. Outside of the occasional juicy morsel, the Walkers remained a fun little event that got my hopes up, only to almost always leave me wanting more. But there were some cute things, like letting the fans vote on certain elements. Which team do you want to appear? Which Fudo hairstyle should be the new look? The old one. Which penguin design do you want? The old one. Here's some artwork. Here are the fan character design contests. I like them. How about the mobile game? Don't care. The anime is delayed to next year. Aww. The 7th Walker stream on August 19th, while being nothing but goofs and gaffs and nothing to gaff about, was notable for having not only my favorite Outer Code episode with the haircuts, but also for having the second anime delay, this time from October 2017 to spring 2018. Note, both of these delays were for the anime. As for the game, they had shown jack shit. Logically speaking, with the initial release for it being planned for the summer 2017, it stands to reason that the game wouldn't be too far behind. It wouldn't make sense to air the anime a year before the game it's promoting, but by the time the anime was supposed to originally air, Hino had shown nothing besides a few character models, so doubts were already being placed on my mind with the state of the game. My doubts would soon be answered in Volume 8 of the Inazuma Walker on October 21st. This was the first Walker that felt like an actual meal, as opposed to the hors d'oeuvres we've been getting previously. Not only was there a finalized preview of Ares Episode 1, which looked very similar to the teaser trailer but with different framing, not only was there a nice trailer for the new episode 27 called Reloaded, The Reformation of Soccer, which looked good with clean art and animation, new versions of old music, and our first look at the only threat more menacing than aliens that can level buildings: Spanish soccer players. Raimon faced off against the team Barcelona Orb and its captain Clario Orvan, the average Spanish middle schooler. I see nothing strange here. Not only did they announce a rebroadcast of Season 1 to hype up Ares, which showed confidence for a finished product, not only did Hino finally tell us the consoles Ares was gonna be on, PS4, Switch, mobile, guess who just got the brand new Samsung Galaxy S9? But they finally, for the first time, showed off gameplay for Ares.
動くんですよ。
はい。
でパスが起きたりとか、そういういろんな機種の違いも。
ゴジさん。
Oh no, my doubts were founded. 2018 was finally the release year for Inazuma 11 Ares. The anime game was still in limbo. This was the year where the content rollout began in earnest. The merchandise, trading cards, as well as anime and manga, plural, released. The main attraction was of course the anime, airing in the spring 2018 anime season, along shows like My Hero Academia Season 3, Golden Kamui, Sorry to Hear That, Sorry I Watched This, the relevant to the topic Captain Tsubasa remake, the 3 steps from relevant to the topic Gekage no Kitaro new series, and a couple of personal favorites. As a lead up to the actual Ares anime, they released the prologue Reloaded. It was an alternate episode 27, where instead of the Alien Academy arc happening, Raimon is tasked to have a practice match with Spain's Barcelona Orb. In usual beginning arc fashion, they get absolutely demolished to show the true strength of the world's soccer, and afterwards, they're tasked to split up the Raimon members to schools around the nation in order to strengthen Japan's soccer. This OVA is pretty good, showcasing a lot of polished animation and building up intrigue for the show to come. It sets up Spain and Clario in particular as an obstacle to overcome in the future, and overall, got me sufficiently excited for the upcoming series. With a lot of hype and good build-up, Inazuma 11 Ares premiered finally. And if I were to say the 26 episode series based on an ambitious new game release that yet to fully finish its intended vision went off without a hitch, I'd be known as a liar. Ares is one of the less popular entries in the franchise. It and its sequel series got a lot of hate in the fanbase, from everything to the writing, the matches, the visuals, the pacing. If it's in Ares, it's pissed someone off. Granted, some of it is hate from people who pretend that Go Galaxy's worth a damn, but there's also hate from people who make sense. Is the hate of Ares warranted? Well, can these statements coexist? Ares is a frustrating series, because while I do like it overall, there is a 9 out of 10 entry wrapped tight in a modest 7 out of 10 at best entry. My main issue with it is the pacing. It starts good enough for the first 7 episodes or so, but around Mikage Seno and Teikoku, they're going from match to match without a lot of the in-between parts that help with characterization and plot progression. A part of me wonders if the cancellation of those locker room shorts had an effect, but Ares at 26 episodes, with the same amount of episodes as the first season, has a lot more plot to cover and characters actively involved in said plot, but also has longer matches than the first season. It feels like there was a lot in the cutting room floor that there wasn't time to delve into, and as a result, a lot of elements feel like they're missing potential. There's a constant pattern of being in a match, then explaining new moves or character moments in flashbacks, leading to many climactic moments not hitting as hard as they really should. It's just not the most structurally sound season. I remember a big story going around that Ares was planned to be 50 episodes. I could never find a solid source on it, but I always felt like I remembered hearing something about that said by Kino in one of the streams. Can't really fact check now, can I? But I could have easily had a memory implanted in me from the talk over the years. The closest thing I could find was this licensed global magazine page, where one of the marketing heads at Level 5 mentioned Ares having 126 episodes in production, but they could have easily been thinking of the original series which had that many episodes, or a typo where he meant Ares' 26 episodes. Easy mistake to make because... Wait, how do you get that wrong? One of the biggest points of contention is with the main character Asuto Inamori. They just can't get these right. He's described as an upbeat boy with a great passion for soccer. Oops! He's described as an upbeat boy with a great passion for soccer. Oops again! He's described as an upbeat boy with a great passion for soccer. I see the issue. Asuto on a baseline level was the exact same type of protagonist as the last two, and while none of these three are exactly the same, they are cut from the same cloth and require extra work to really set them apart. Endo was the original, and acted with such a level of conviction that made all of his lines hit hard. He was so inherently likable that it's hard not to root for him. Tenma was an annoying whiny bitch with some of the worst lines of dialogue I've ever seen in this franchise, and he was a very polarizing love or hate character. I'm team hate! Asuto on the other hand felt like an overcorrection of Tenma. While I don't hate Asuto like I do Tenma, he's a bit too pulled back for my liking. While he can be pretty good on the pitch, and it's cool to sometimes see him tear through the enemy in that Inazuma striker faction we see happen from the other end a lot, he doesn't offer a ton that's unique in the way of personality and drive. Say what you want about Tenma, I can and will say many things that are mostly negative. He sure as shit pushed for his viewpoint. Asuto in comparison is far more reserved in that regard, which does make him less annoying than Tenma, but has the adverse effect of making him feel milquetoast. He doesn't react super strongly to most scenarios and can be pretty wishy-washy, but I can't deny it makes those few moments where he gets fed up with everything going on absolute highlights. In the final match, when he straight up grabs Hypecycle and Osaka and tells them, hey, cut that shit out! Moments like these are why they can never make me hate Asuto. Can't make me love him either. Asuto is really mostly hampered by sharing the spotlight with two way better protagonists. Asuto and Inakuni Raimon are where the action is, but Hypecycle and Osaka are where the story is. These two and their teams are what make Ares, Ares. Personality-wise, they're both radically different from the norm. Hypecycle's unhinged, aggressive personality and playstyle, combined with a solidly compelling backstory, and pure, blinding, unadulterated hatred for the Ares program and what it's done to people, make her such a good character. And Nosaka's emotionless demeanor, combined with his little quirks like his passion for food and that fuck-ass sitting position, these two are great. And their supporting characters are no slouch either. The dynamic and battle between these two is the heart and soul of Ares. I think them carrying most of the narrative weight, rather than just being guys who play soccer and are fun, is why they ended up being so much more popular than Asuto and everyone in Inakuni. Ares actually has a lot of great character writing, and focuses a lot more than usual on making the enemy teams likable. Some are just inherent because, ooh, person I know from the original! But there's also fun new stuff, like Atsuya getting consistently pissed off and annoyed at the uber quirky cutesy teheble Nai Shiratoya hogging the Ace Striker spotlight, Hiruto and Tatsuya's strained relationship, and Saginuma being a silly little guy, Teikoku fighting back against Kageyama's stupid ass plans, the immaculately happy vibes of Tonegawa Tosen. It's just a shame that Inakuni had to suffer for it. You never want your pro tag team to be the weak link, but due to how many elements they were juggling, they unfortunately got the short end of the stick when it came to development. It's a shame, because I actually kinda really like these guys as a unit. The way they banter and were so casual with each other really sells that these guys have been friends for years, and I think the dynamics presented had a lot of potential. The coach and Tsukushi feel like natural inclusions to the laid-back tone the team presented, and with more time, and maybe a full game to flesh them out, you know, they could have been my favorite team. I always think back to this relationship chart and just think, wow, these two never talked, Hino's a f***ing liar. I liked Gojin having his duo of straight men roasting him all the time. I wanted to see more of the main trio of Asto, Hiro, and Mansaku. I strongly feel like they should have leaned way harder into Tsukushi being a fan of the coach to contrast Anna really not liking him that much. Inakuni Raimon is actually a really good team. But maybe it's the version of them I made up in my head after years of thinking about Ares. That said, Ares does actually have a lot of pretty cool matches. It has some absolute ass cheeks events, sure. What the f was that Zeus match? Genuinely insulting. But the good is good, and the latter half especially has consistently solid matches. Ace sort of lacked narrative weight for Inakuni, but made up for it with Ace's storyline and was generally fun to watch. Tonegawa Tosen had my man Endo, and featured Mishinari being a character for the first and last time. What if Shindo was complete doo-doo? That's how this guy was made. I really loved the Hakuden match too. Atsuya was such a fun character. Him messing with Inakuni's members to get them to fight amongst each other was such a fun thing to watch. Nai is a really fun addition to this match as well. I'm not usually into the uber anime quirky cutesy type characters, and Inazuma has kind of done this before, but Nai doesn't do too much, as well as having a very simple but nice backstory, and she's just fun in the match itself. She's a good addition and really brings out the best in Atsuya. Hanta's moment was really cool, there was great Norika development, and it's just one that I go back to again and again. It's my favorite Inakuni match by far. Ares also has the Seisho vs Kidokawa Seishu match, which is genuinely in my top 10 for the whole franchise. It's so good. If there's one complaint I've never gotten with Ares, is people saying it has bad animation. There's a couple moments here and there that are kinda stiff. I remember one episode that was notorious for having low quality art, but for the most part it's pretty well produced. Sure, the Hisatsu looked great as usual, but I want to give special attention to a lot of the really good match choreography. The way general movements are storyboarded, from past work to slick dribbling, there's a lot of really fun and dynamic match choreography that gets really overlooked. From cool one-on-one encounters that showcase some nice dynamic movement, to effortlessly laid out team play, to shots with interesting and unique camera angling, Ares has some of the most fun to watch straight up soccer play, dare I say, in the series. Ares has its fair share of things to criticize, and one or two straight up full things about it. But I like it. I enjoyed my first time week to week viewing, and when I go back to it, I tend to find some new thing to appreciate every single time. It's absolutely harmed by not having a full game to work with, and it's not as good as it should have been. But tell me to watch Ares again, and I'll be glad to. Tell me to watch 40 to 50 episodes of a Go season again. I'm not doing that! Alongside the anime were the Ares manga, all three of them. To coincide with the three protagonists, they all got manga focused around their stories. All three of them. The main manga was focused on Asto and Inakuni Raimon, much like the anime, and it's fine. It's a very cut down version of the main series events, and presented in a much more wacky sense than the anime. Inazuma manga has always been a lot more exaggerated than the anime and the games. And Ares, even with new mangaka Atsushi Oba, keeps that sillier style. I like it enough as its own thing, but the manga style has never been my preference for the series. The Hypecycle focused manga, on the other hand, Heir to the Penguins. I dug this one super hard actually. Penned by the usual Tenya Yabuno, it's almost entirely set between the matches we see in the anime, so we actually get that in-between content that I like so much. Covering events from before the start of the anime to before the match against Ote Tsukinomiya, it's chock full of fun scenarios with the Seisho team, as well as more characterization for them. Despite being Hypecycle's manga, the one who I think gets the biggest boost from this is actually Seiryu Mizukamiya. He's pretty good in Aries, but the manga made me love him. We get some more background on him, a better sense of his relationship with Hypecycle and the rest of his team, and he has lots of moments where he gets to be a silly little guy. Heir to the Penguins even has some good moments for Kido, some of the Teikoku members, Oreo, even Sasosuke gets some time. I enjoy this one greatly. The anime and manga were proceeding as scheduled, except for the Nosaka manga which got cancelled, not a great sign, but it felt like something was missing to tie it all together. Alright, the entire point of this project. The entire anime was made to promote the game, and some of the manga had come out, so where was the actual main attraction? Delay! This was the first official game delay, being pushed back from summer 2018 to fall 2018. It stunk a little bit, but it wasn't a crazy long delay, and they should still have a good amount of show after all this time, I was sure. Surely after all this time, there's something substantial to show, for sure! Oh, this game wasn't coming out anytime soon. If I said there was no Inazuma 11 game released in 2018, that would be a lie. If I said there was no Inazuma 11 game featuring the Aries characters released in 2018, that would also be a lie. If I said Inazuma 11 Aries released in 2018, I didn't specify. To celebrate the 10th anniversary of the series, Level 5 re-released Inazuma 11 1 on the 3DS, to give players a chance to re-experience the original story before the release of the Aries game. This was a port of the game from Endo Mamoru Densetsu, the collection of the first 3 mainline DS games and their other versions. This collection was also on the 3DS, which meant they just cut that out from the collection and resold it. That is lame! Imagine if for Mario's anniversary, they took Mario Galaxy from a shitty collection and resold it on the eShop. Well, they need to make a shitty collection first. It's 2018, I love Nintendo, they're gonna make Mario Party and it's gonna be good this time! As there's something actually new, Level 5 launched Inazuma 11 AC Dream Battle, a game using a bunch of collectible cards, separate from the collectible cards they've been releasing previously. Which, as a Delawarean and very much not Japan, I never experienced, but can only imagine this was a little bit confusing. As a Delawarean who did not move to Japan in the span of the last 2 sentences, I never got to play the arcade game, but its existence made me excited for one simple reason. It was using models and animations from the Aries game, and there were so many completed Hisatsu animations, which means that the game had to be coming along. They even had a character creator in this one, which was a neat little add-on that would probably have given it a distinction from the main Aries game. And this was a post-Sonic Forces, pre-Jump Force era, so I wasn't completely burnt out of character creators yet. But what about the main game? In terms of Aries, they announced the sequel, Inazuma 11 Orion. Inazuma 11 Orion brings together 19 characters from Aries to form Inazuma Japan, the national team as they go through the Football Frontier International, while the seedy Orion Foundation causes strife on the pitch, as they seek to use soccer for their own nefarious purposes. C'est la vie, life goes on, and Orion premiered in the fall 2018 anime season, along Rascal Does Not Dream of Bunny-Girl Senpai, Zombieland Saga, Hinomaru Sumo, and a bunch of other crap that ranges from fart to poop to f*** off. It was planned to be the longest season of Inazuma yet, and one of the most grand. In one sense of the word, not this sense of the word. Thank God, the season can't be that bad. To say that Orion went over well would be on you for relieving me after the Aries situation. With Aries, I didn't start noticing problems until somewhat into the show, but Orion's problems revealed their poorly animated heads almost immediately. One of the biggest problems with Aries was crazy fast pace, not letting characters have moments to sit and just going from match to match to match. And I hope Orion would mitigate this, but by the end of episode 1, here we are on the field already! Compared to the original FFI arc, which didn't even have the full team set up by the end of the first episodes, and compared to Galaxy, which whoop, it had the same problem. My bad. I expect the Galaxy to have good parts. I'm kidding. It has a good part. Orion seemed to not be slowing down at all. There are definitely a few more episodes in Orion that are outside of matches than Aries, but even those are a bit of a mixed bag. Most are dedicated to furthering the macro plot with the Orion Foundation, and others are either placed in the middle of matches or vary in quality. There's one with Asta and Ichihoshi getting lost and looking for Kappa, which has some decent character work, but is a piss-pale imitation of one of my favorite episodes from the original FFI arc.
カッパっていうのは想像上の動物で本当にはいないんだよ。
あ、そうそう、カッパいたよ。
I get it. It's a reference to a thing I like way more. Orion has 2 whole recap episodes, one being a sort of fun clip show where the main trio are being interviewed, and another one where they quite literally go, "Hey Endo, didn't Raimon fight Clario's team once?" "Yeah, and they beat us really badly. Really badly." "How badly?" Well... Wow, what a great story! And a great use of 20 minutes! This season is f***ed. Perhaps, but let's enjoy the ride. But if there was any indication Orion did not go as planned, it was the art and animation. To go from hot to cold, the character designs remain stellar in this era, and Orion has some all-time greats for me. I always felt the international teams in Galaxy had some of Nagano's most uninspired character designs, some of these guys boring me to tears. For Orion, however, it was a marked step up. The international teams have a lot more distinct looks to them, with a much nicer array of colors all around, and much stronger theming and cohesion. And as usual, he never stops drawing funny, goofy, weirdo character designs. Also, Nagano was always great at drawing unique and cool black characters, but from the Ares Orion era on, he stopped doing this. It's hard to explain because I'm not really an art person, but Orion's characters are some of the most visually pleasing ones in the franchise to me. There's cool guys, cool girls, and fun all around. Also, not to be too out of character for a moment, but the Uzbekistan and Saudi Arabia team coaches out of nowhere were like, really hot for some reason. Like, Inazuma is not a series known for having hot characters, but for some reason, he gave his all for these borderline background characters. However, good designs mean nothing if the animators have 2 hours to pump out episodes, and once the matches start, it's so clear that the production must have melted, because it looks really bad. There's a metric crap ton of off-model and generally low-quality faces, animation that's either super stiff or damn near broken, and an excessive amount of bank animation. I praise Ares for having a lot of really slick action choreography. Well, I sure did get to see all of those cool cuts of animation all over again in Orion. I won't pretend the original series didn't reuse animation now and then, and other long-running shows do it of course too. But bank animation to this extent is something I can only recall seeing as much in Dragon Ball Super. Orion also has a big issue in balancing the old with the new. The Inazuma Japan lineup shows us immediately. The fact that we have Fudo and Kazemaru and Saginuma, why are there 3 goalkeepers? Instead of new characters like Mizukamiya or Nai or f***ing Atsuya? Something that always confounded me from the moment the lineup dropped before Ares even finished. Why did they do that? Lineup issues are one thing, but my bigger issue is how they allocate screen time. They don't do a terrible job, a good amount of new characters do get focus, and some stuff with the old characters is good even. But once again, it's a mixed bag. I love the duo of Hyzaki and Hiroto. The antagonistic rivalry is always a fun trope to see in these series, and the fact that the one thing that gets them to band together is beating up their teammate is fantastic character writing. I actually like the decision of getting rid of Goenji and Kido early on, making Goenji more of a support role, and Kido's character up to him getting sent off the team was A+. Both his continued support of Hyzaki and his instant desire to get rid of Ichihoshi once he thinks he's a Trojan horse. That...
すまん。手が滑った。
is an all-timer. I liked in the big group setting scenes where the Inakuni boys get to be complete goofballs compared to the rest of the team. Keeping in mind they're still a remote islander seeing more of the world. It's nice! And on that note of the Inakunis, Gojin is my favorite character from this era, so him getting a whole dedicated episode and a continuation of what they did with him in Ares, wonderful. But for all those, there's just as many letdowns. Hira is a weird one for me, because in Ares they forgot to give him a personality besides nice friend guy who does ice moves. And while he doesn't get to do jack shit match-wise, they do make him more memorable by giving him funny gags like his new detective shtick and whatever the f this was. But poor Mansaku! He went from a pretty cool character in Aries, serving as one of the more functional examples of a libero in the series, and having some solid leadership moments, to a complete husk, with nothing to say, nothing to do, no character moments, a missed opportunity of a dynamic with both fellow libero Sakanoe and also Atsuya after he harassed him the whole Hakuden game. Neither him nor Hira get any new moves, kinda. And he is just there, which sucks. I really liked him. I wish they wrote out Endo too, like they did the other members of the trio, because him being a constant captain and goalkeeper made it so Nishikage and Saginuma could so rarely get proper screen time. Fudo is such a pointless addition, offering nothing to Orion I felt someone like Atsuya couldn't. Who the f are you? Where the f is your brother? Did I forget someone? But how is the brand new character, Mitsuru Ichihoshi? He was our new focus character for this season, and he caused a lot of mixed reactions for a lot of different reasons. He played for the overseas Russia team and was sent to join Inazuma Japan. He seems like a pretty standard nice guy at first, maybe even a little boring, but it's quickly revealed he's a spy sent by the Orion Foundation to destroy Japan's team from the inside. Once we get this reveal, we see Ichihoshi get to be a complete slimeball. He acts fake as f***, gets Kido accused of doping and kicked off the team, turns into a smug asshole when he's confronted, and even rejects one of Endo's classic shonen friendship speeches. Naturally, Ichihoshi was a controversial character. Some people loved his antics, some people pissed their pants in anger. I loved Ichihoshi. He was such a fun dickhead to watch. See that? No piss. We learned more of his backstory and figured out he was working for Orion to save his hospitalized brother. I see we're doing this again. Naturally, Ichihoshi was a controversial character. Some people liked his backstory and felt for him. Others either didn't sympathize or thought it was super lame Hina was doing this plotline again. I'm in the third camp. One aspect I did like was how the three protagonists all reacted to him in different ways. Asta was the most empathetic to him, with it feeling more natural than it would have, considering he wasn't given all the information that Nosaka and Haizaki, and by proxy the viewers, were given. Nosaka himself was more in the middle. With him having researched Ichihoshi, he usually observed his actions and either outsmarted his ploys, or simply letting Ichihoshi to his own devices and responding in kind to that. And then you have Haizaki, who wasn't very fond of him. It's a very smart usage of the three protagonists setup. This came to a head in the Saudi Arabia match, where it's revealed that he was actually Hikaru Ichihoshi, the brother that was thought to be in the hospital. It turned out that after a car accident where Hikaru lost his dad and his brother Mitsuru, out of grief, he manifested his older brother's personality into himself. His brother was known for his soccer skills, while Hikaru was the analytical one, but now fully formed, he had the best of both worlds. This was a very specific plotline and twist, one so specific that one would be shocked to learn that Hino did this shit already. Outside of the twist that he was the brother all along, this was a complete rehash of Fubuki's plotline from the original series, but condensed to about 10 episodes as opposed to the more natural progression over a course of a whole game/season. Sure, if you're gonna do this again, condense it instead of dragging it out, but also, I prefer an original plotline. Naturally, Ichihoshi was a controversial character. Orion was such a weird case, and even in just the 11 episodes that came out by the end of 2018, I had so many mixed feelings. I liked most matches' core content, even the Orion cheating stuff, which a lot of fans didn't really like that much. I never found it to be too out of the realm of what the series usually does, and it was a hell of a lot more entertaining than all this garbage. But the animation would always drag the matches down. The character screen time allocation was already all out of whack, and I had both hopes and concerns in equal measure going into the show in 2019. There's more to get into next year, but what about the main game? Despite what Rule of Threes may imply, there was actual game news sorta kinda consistently-ish. Through mainly website updates and good old leaks from the Koro magazine, we learned a lot about Ares' many systems and mechanics, from the return of the scouting system known as Kizunax, and better known to me as Kusonax, tons of new special moves and tactics, and lots of screens and menus that would mean relatively nothing to me until the game was actually in my hands. All of this was nice, but there's only so many still pictures I can look at before I stop feeling things that are happy. For that, I'd have to wait until the Tokyo Game Show 2018. This was Ares' first public showing as a video game, and I was so excited to see the game in action. I remember watching those low quality camera filled videos and watching so much of this game I would soon get my hands on. I spent hours watching the available footage and trying so hard to convince myself that I liked what I saw. I was not super impressed by the gameplay on display. After over a year of waiting, I was hoping maybe to not have my mind blown, but to come away at least impressed. At the time, I was hyping it up to myself, saying it looked really good. But with the power of hindsight, and even at that time, I kinda knew it wasn't looking amazing. The fields were so big now, and the characters moved so slow, making the match pacing look fairly boring. The animations outside of the Hisatsu weren't looking too hot, with the one-on-ones looking especially awkward like an amateurly choreographed play. There just wasn't a whole lot to latch onto, and that performance looked rough on the Switch. I could hear it crying out in pain when Asta used the cross drive, and Gravity Cage could cause my Switch to be pizza ready. I was thinking all the excuses to myself. It's still in development. Game's out next season. It's an earlier build. Yeah, alright dude. It'll seem better in my hands. Yeah. Maybe. After TGS, I didn't think I wanted Ares releasing too soon in this state. Neither did Hino. In came the second delay, pushing Ares back from fall 2018 to winter 2019. This delay I wasn't too upset about because I kinda wanted it too, the game needed it. Even if the performance issues were just a Switch version problem, which later PS4 footage proved to be the case, the overall package, at least when it came to the matches, was not juicing my jam quite yet. In a way, this was the best delay because it felt warranted. Plus, things weren't looking too bad for too long. By November, there was a brand new trailer. It showed new Hisatsu in the Ares style, and had a cool opening song. That's about it. But when scraps are the standard, anything is exciting. And this sure as hell was anything. With this, the promise of a new public demo at the World Hobby Fair in winter 2019, and the knowledge that Ares' whole multimedia products were coming westward next year, 2018 may not have had the full game release, but there was enough here to at least satiate me and prep me for the full release in 2019. Hello Akihiro Hino, CEO of Hype since 1998. Why do you look so sad and tired? On December 25th, Hino in a live stream explained why the game was going through so many developmental issues. The live stream isn't up anymore, so I'll reenact it the best that I can. Yachatta! Inazuma 11 Ares was delayed to May 2019. At the earliest. Merry f***ing Christmas. The year was 2019. Super Smash Bros. Ultimate was all the rage. I was in my freshman year of college and had failed my first class. My calculus teacher screwed me over, and it was set to be the big year of Inazuma 11 Ares' release date. Level 5 kicked off the year with a new demo of Ares at the World Hobby Fair. This one showing the match between Inakuni Raimon and Zeus. Compared to the last demo, there were noticeable improvements and additions. Pre-match cutscenes, a vocal announcer, voice-acted special moves, and the unique typography Ares was known for. It looked better for sure, but there were still the issues of the performance during the moves and the general sluggish look of the gameplay. It didn't look ship-ready yet, but it didn't look delay-ready anymore. And apparently, Hino also thought the gameplay could be more interesting, because in March, he brought back the Inazuma Walker after months of its absence to talk more about the anime and the game. Well, the anime news was fine, new characters and all that, and the gacha game news was that he announced a gacha game for the series. But I don't want a gacha game for the series. The game news was the announcement of a development blog, made to detail aspects of the game and increase the pretty piss-poor communication of Ares thus far. I love when devs do stuff like this. Sakurai's Smash 4 pick of the day was a major contributor to that game having one of my most fun hype cycles ever. So something in that vein was just the thing to keep people interested. And for the first half of the year, Hino didn't do a bad job with it. Didn't do a good job either. The blog was updated at a pace akin to once a month, as in Blog 1, March 28th, Blog 2, April 10th, so a little over a week apart, which made me think it would be almost weekly, and Blog 3, May 15th, Blog 4, June 24th, Blog 5, July 5th, Blog 6, July 30th, Blog 7, August 22nd, 2023, and the content within them was so here and there. The first one was great, touching on my complaints about the match gameplay system not being too interesting, showing off how they were adding more options with these funny arrows. Definitely was a bit concerning seeing him wheel through the whole battle system months before the game was supposed to come out, but hey, this will make the game feel better, presumably. Blog 2, Shaves no Saka. This was an April Fool's joke, but was actually a scrap design for Nosaka after the events of Ares where he was to get surgery to remove his brain tumor. The design was scrapped because all the female staff hated the redesign, and he ended up keeping his regular hairstyle in Orion. This was a neat fun fact and a funny anecdote, but it didn't have a goddamn thing to do with the game. 2 blog posts in and we're already doing joke posts. Doesn't exactly inspire confidence to have a lot to show. Blog post 3. More progress was shown about the adjustments he talked about in blog post 1. That is cool, but it's sort of the same shit again, which was especially rough when we had to wait a month to read about it. Super especially rough when this blog post was in May, the month Hino used as a benchmark for how early the game could have released in that year, and he was showing them tweaking the main battle system still. By this point, no one really believed it was ever coming out by May. Not a great blog post, but maybe there'd be something new in Developer Blog 4. Blog 4. Hino announced the demo they had planned for the World Hobby Fair that summer wasn't up to code, so he cancelled the showing. Here's some cutscene screenshots though. It has the shittiest posing of all time. They didn't even get Nosaka's dumbass posture right. That's such an important little character quirk, man. They better make a whole ass new blog post to fix this blunder. Hot dog! Blog 6. Here are some screenshots of locations with lighting and stuff. This? Months of the blog being a thing, and what we got was really not a lot. The development blog did the exact opposite of what it should have done. With each post, my confidence in this game releasing went lower and lower. After months, all we learned was that the battle system wasn't done, the cutscenes weren't done, and basic early game errors I thought we already saw and were done weren't actually done. Combined with a demo delay saying they were basically behind schedule, and oh my god, this game isn't coming out, is it? They remained adamant about that 2019 release date, but fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. Fool me thrice, I'm a fucking moron. But fool me quadrice, shame on who? The Holy fucking Spirit, I don't know. It was a real shame, because everything else seemed to be going smoothly. The arcade game Dream Battle got a massive update, changing its name to Inazuma 11 AC All-Stars, and adding characters from Go, making it an all-encompassing game, and showing more forward momentum than the actual main game. Playing cards and the merch were going business as usual, and Orion was doing its f***ing best. The main Inazuma 11 based thing in 2019 was definitely Inazuma 11 Orion. The Ares sequel series continued throughout the majority of 2019, and from the beginning to the end, God, that bag never got unmixed. The main Football Frontier International Tournament was set in Russia, as opposed to the original fictional Lyokut Island, and I enjoyed the look of it. The animation remained good to great to meh to bad to awful, as it did before, but even when it looked bad, the backgrounds were always pretty nice. Once Inazuma Japan won the Asia preliminaries and got to the mainland, the macroplot really gets into gear. They introduced the major players of Orion, the leader of the Foundation, Bernard Girikanan, as well as Ichihoshi's longtime buddy, Froy Girikanan, the captain of the Russia team, and younger brother of Bernard. One thing I really enjoy about Orion is the namesake Orion Foundation itself. I always felt the actual Ares part of Ares was a little undercooked outside of facilitating Nosaka and Haizaki's motivations. But in Orion we see so many elements of it. It's an evil anime company using soccer for bad, yeah, yada yada whatever. But what makes it work for me is seeing all the different lives it affected, positive and negative. We of course have some of the seals of Orion who are pure evil laughing evil, but we also see how Orion helps some people escape poverty and give them a chance to succeed in the soccer world. We see players who relish in the cheating, others who don't want to participate in Orion's ways but have no choice, and others who reject it outright. It's not one size fits all, and I find it to be at least more interesting than 5th Sector from Go. Much like how Ichihoshi is seen in 3 different fashions, 3 characters show off the different sides of the Foundation. Froy acts as the light, showing the potential good that it can foster. Bernard represents the more gray area of Orion, showing how he wasn't ready to be thrust into this important position, as well as both the good and bad of his actions and intentions. And Arena, their mom and secret leader of Orion from the shadows, shows the pure evil side. If my mention of her feels like it came out of nowhere, then I'm representing the show properly. While I do like a lot of the plot stuff in Orion, it never finds a great balance with all the characters, and they try to solve it by adding more and more characters. In the Inazuma walkthrough where Hino announced SD in the Aries development blog, the big anime news was that 5 characters would be joining the Inazuma Japan roster, chosen by the fans through Twitter campaigns. On the one hand, this is kind of a cool way to get the fans involved more actively. On the other hand, it really sets in stone that Orion was being made by the seat of its pants when character traditions were being made as the show was airing. The additional members were Atsuya Fubuki. He should have been there from the beginning, but it was nice to see him there at all. Sadly, they do some weirdo wacko stuff with Shiro, so they only get to be on the pitch at the same time in one match before it's Atsuya alone. At which point, he's fun, but doesn't really have a ton to do. The lack of Nai definitely hurts, but he doesn't get any cool new dynamics among the team. Like again, Mansaku was right there. Great addition, okay execution. Aphrodite. Unlike most people, I was not that hyped to see him back again since it was yet another classic character. I assumed most of his campaigning was due to that insulting Zeus match in Aries, people wanting a redemption. And considering his hat trick in the America match, yeah, I'd say he delivered. They finally got to put into practice the whole god dynamic with Hiroto, and I love the fact that Hino added Goldblum to that duo for some god knows why reason. Genuinely, the only reason I was happy to see Aphrodite was because it gave Golem a shining moment. I love the goofy wacko weirdo side of Inazuma as much if not more than the cool guy and pretty boy side of Inazuma. Aphrodite, bad inclusion, pretty good execution. Norika Umihara. In this life, you have to make choices. When war breaks out, the last thing you want to do is get caught in the middle. You must choose a side and fight to the end. But war is never pretty. Lives are forever changed. Allegiances are formed. And wartime is where you truly see who people are. How do I know? I've been in a war before. One greater and maybe even pettier than you could ever imagine. In the Great Umihara War of 2019, people knew once those damn coral leakers showed that design, it wouldn't be pretty. Either you were Team Floof, or you were Team Bob. And what team was I? Isn't it obvious? Of course. I was on the side of Floof, man! What are you talking about? I didn't want this stupid ass new bob cut you had. It looks awful. You had such a great aesthetic with her nice floofy wavy hair with her whole scene theming. And you took it all away for nothing. She goes, oh, they help me make my plays better. You have Hypecycle and Nishikage with their long ass hair who gets in their head. And they are still playing. And you're gonna tell me you're gonna change the hairstyle for no reason? No, this sucked! Norika is the character I love, but I don't know why she's here. The team was already stacked with 3 goalkeepers, 2 of whom were struggling for screen time, and they add a 4th? Huh? And they don't really treat her well. She plays in 2 matches, and despite the fact that she gets Majin in the Wave, which is my favorite goalie technique maybe in the franchise, she loses her first match and gets injured and subbed out in the second match. Poor Norika, my girl was not treated very well. Still treated better than my boy Sagi Numa, who after switches to being a midfielder and proceeds to he's treated even worse! At the time I saw this, I was pissed. This was the worst redesign I had ever seen in the series. Turns out I had to wait 5 minutes and see a worse one. Sasuke Kozomaru. Ew! I was never the biggest fan of Kozomaru in Aries, and was fairly glad he got dropped in favor of other forwards. But the one thing I loved about him was his design. He was such a unique looking character, especially for a striker, and they completely ruined it by turning him into a boring Goenji copy. And if that wasn't enough, he developed by changing his brash and annoyed personality to a more stoic and courteous one. So basically, they took everything unique about this character and ripped it away. His showing in Orion turned him into one of my least favorite characters of all time in the series. Especially when the culmination of his character arc was just him doing the same shit Goenji did 40 episodes prior. F this guy. He joins the pantheon of the worst characters in the franchise. Also, he can do this. Dog shit inclusion, even worse execution. The final member to join Inazuma Japan was Seiryu Mizukamiya. If Atsuya should have been there from the beginning, Mizukamiya should have been there from the beginning. He's incredibly important to one of the main characters, a previous team captain, a notable defender which was sorely lacking for the Inazuma Japan team at the moment, and he's a lot of fun. In terms of his implementation, holy shit! He gets 2 sick new moves, is the linchpin of one of the most unique and entertaining strategies I've seen from protagonist team, and I can even see a bit of that Air to the Penguin's goofiness seep into his personality in the way he interacts more comedically with Hypecycle. Ichihoshi says this one line about how if he's the analyst and Osaka is the commander, then Mizukamiya is the library where all the info and tactics are stored. Like, dude! Mizukamiya is so f***ing cool. Where was he? We only get to have him for 2 matches, but he steals the show. The best inclusion, the best execution. The additional members was a neat idea, but ultimately served to bloat the cast even further. And no amount of Fudo getting blown up leaving the team really offset that. It contributes to Orion's frantic sense of storytelling, where it becomes obvious that with no game made front to back prior, the anime suffers. It had a beginning and an end sorted out, but the middle clearly wasn't, and thus a lot of shit just happens. Some good, some bad. Here's a couple of reasons why I think Orion was just slapped together at parts. When we get to Russia, we meet Spain, America, and Russia. Japan plays against Brazil, Italy, and these guys afterwards, but we never see any of them until it's time to play against them. Compared to both the OG and Galaxy, where we knew where all the characters were going to be long in advance. America is the same team as the OG, complete with Ichinose and Domon, but they get taken over by Navy Invaders, a team based on the American military. That's either really funny or Hino hates America's ass. But the only member of that team to say words is Cobra, a defender who is not the captain and not a forward, but also does the goals. I love Cobra and think he's awesome they gave this guy who looks like this a sympathetic backstory, but this is a really weird team I don't think was fully cooked. No one on the Brazil team has a last name. I find that weird and random. There's a weird lack of defense, and especially dribble Hisatsu, that really makes me think that there was a really early impression game that didn't have those details made yet. And the final team comes out of absolutely nowhere. The show goes super fast towards the end, and the final conflict is essentially a jump scare as Froy and Bernard's hot abusive mom, these 2 words aren't complimenting each other, but they are in sequence, takes over the stadium and threatens to leak all the nation's secrets with some stupid bullshit plan if they don't give her money or whatever and meet her demand, as the aforementioned unforeshadowed team led by her and Kageyama for some reason, Kageyama's the coach, I don't know where the hell he came from, faces a new team formed in the moment by Zhao Jinyun of a bunch of characters from all the countries as they come together, including our 4 protagonists and no other Aries Orion characters, but 7 classic characters. Get the f on the bench, Hiroto, Gojin, Mizukamiya, make way for Aphrodite and Kazemaru, and Fudo's back, guys. Look, ignore how he did nothing all season. He's a classic character, here he is. Then they face the final team who has like 3 moves total with the Captain Eureka, who has no personality and a super rush storyline, but she's a cute anime girl so people like her. Then Asto gives her a dumb, corny speech that means absolutely nothing, and they do a cool 5-person chain shot, and Arena's plans are foiled, and they all come together and kick a soccer ball into the air to break the stadium back open, and Asto's dad's subplot ends with, oh my god, Asto! Asto Inamori is the main character of Inazuma 11 Aris no Tenben and Orion no Kokuin, but you really wouldn't know it in Orion because he is overshadowed like 5 times over. He's present in matches, gets new moves, has dialogue and dynamics on a technical level, a lot of presence, but he's so there. His positive protagonist energy is stifled because Endo is there and covers that basis. He's repositioned from a forward to a midfielder, so he loses that unique trait and sinks into the Tenma. Not that far though, he's still better than him. And all the plotlines they give Asto are fine. His main one is trying to find his long lost dad, which leads to one pretty great episode, and a twist that I wish went a different way, but it's not the most resonant or anything, it's fine. I enjoy how over the course of the series we see him get more and more fed up with Orion's antics, culminating in the Italy match where he's at his limit and after most definitely crippling this girl over here, suggests to use Grid Omega, the tactic from Ares that is presented as pretty evil and not good, in order to end the match early. It's the most I enjoyed Asto in the series, but it's still just moments here and there. For the most part, I mean he's okay, but he's the protagonist, so I want some more. Hell, the main character doesn't learn a new solo move until episode 45 out of 49. Sure, moves aren't everything, but god damn Asta, pick up the pace, buddy! By the 40s, it was pretty clear the anime was rushing towards the end. I did get the feeling that plans shifted internally at level 5, and Orion essentially started going at the pacing of a Shonen Jump manga that got cancelled. Episode 49 was announced to be the last episode of the show, and given they said Orion would be the longest in the series, but ended up being shorter than Season 3 and Chronostan, I think it's safe to say it didn't all go as planned. In the finale, I felt the animation team just going fuck it and just putting whatever in the finale episode. Because it had stuff like Hypecycle, Clario, and Ichinose, 3 dudes who had never even spoken to each other, pulling out new Hisatsu out of their asses, and end up pulling up a bunch of moves out of nowhere, and lots of zany nonsense that reminded me of the movies. Like damn, all of them was done, and Orion ended. Not with a bang, but like, a little frizz. It wrapped up more than Galaxy, but certainly didn't feel grand. Orion has a lot of dumb shit in it, and I wouldn't blame anyone for putting it among their least favorite seasons. It's a hot mess in so many areas, and the most actively unfinished season. But I could never hate it. It was such a fun week-to-week experience, and there's too much I enjoy for me to call it garbage. I enjoy to some extent most of the matches. I like a good amount of the new characters, and the teams are really fun. I like Australia being demon themed, and the captain being named Satan is objectively hilarious. I enjoy how different of a move Last Resort is. I enjoy how particularly off the wall it can get, but there's too much that pisses me off for me to call it great. The animation is too inconsistent. There's so much missed potential. Kozomaru, I hate him! I'd say it's in the middle, but it's too fun for me to call straight up mediocre. It's a really fun okay. It's very much like Dragon Ball Super, another sequel series with a messy production, but too many things I like and dislike for me to call it garbage or amazing. Orion is the messiest, most mixed up mixed bag of a season, but it's so fascinating, and as such is one of my most rewatched seasons. I might just be a weird f***. Orion was over, but that wasn't all Inazuma had to offer in terms of animated content. In Japan, oh, it was f***ing over. But 2019 was also the year that Ares, the anime, not the game, don't be silly, started premiering worldwide in places like France, Italy, and the United States.
Wait, I lived there.
Yes, Inazuma 11 Ares was airing in the United States, making this the first time any of the show would be available legally. This may be what I first watched, but I'm not counting this. And the first time the anime was getting a proper American English dub, and not whatever the f was going on over here. Ares aired on April 13th in America on Disney XD, my domain, after young me learned Disney Channel had all the bad shows and Disney XD had all the good shows. Disney XD is not a very highly owned channel on cable, and by the time Ares started, the shift from cable to streaming was already happening in full swing. Inazuma 11 Ares is an alternate sequel to a show that never aired in the US, featuring characters from later games and anime that also never came to the US, on a channel with lower viewership at a pretty early 8:30 Saturday time slot. Believe it or not, the anime did not perform well. I had stocks in this, man! It was pretty crazy seeing them attempt to make Ares succeed over here, with a Twitter account for the series popping up and a YouTube channel for it too. A Twitter account which stopped posting 16 episodes until the 26th episode run, only returning years later for Victory Road, and the YouTube channel, god, I can just feel them giving up. Tangent time again! The English dub was recorded at SDI Media, known at the time for dubbing many other anime, as well as the second dub of the Yokai Watch anime, and it was surreal hearing Inazuma 11 with like real ass voice actors. I'm talking Kyle McCarley, Johnny Young Bosch, Cheryl Millet, Christina V, Bryce Pappenbrook, Erica Harlecker, Christine Marie Cabanos, Nathan Sharp, yes, the one who wants to battle, and many more. Not that many more. Out of all the dubbed Inazuma content, I think Ares has by far the best English dub. It's okay! If someone were to tell me they wanted to watch Ares dubbed, I would still strongly suggest they watch it in sub, but I wouldn't bore a hole into their ear with my side eye like I would if they watched the original show dub. The dub has good qualities. There's some awkward line reads here and there.
Oh no! Our side is wide open!
But for the most part, the acting is pretty solid. When it comes to the main cast, outside of Gojin, who, while I don't hate the voice, I don't love the direction, very generic dumb guy, I think just about all of them are casted perfectly. Kyle McCarley does a good spirited, plucky shonen protagonist voice with a pretty perfect pitch. Bryce Pappenbrook pulls off Kozomaru's smug, annoyed demeanor perfectly, with just the right amount of nasal for him. Christopher Corey Smith is genuinely perfect casting for Zhao Jinyun. He nails the wacky, eccentric nature of this coach. Michael Sorge as Osho Kakuma makes for a commentator that I think genuinely rivals the Japanese performance. He gets me so hyped. Keiji Tang matches the Japanese well for Golem, doing a good, gentle, big guy kind of voice, while not veering into generic dumb big guy range, like Gojin. Keiji Tang uses his normal pitch well for normal Captain Man Michinari. Lucien Dodge does a solid light performance for Hyura, making him come across well as a friendly guy. Lucien Dodge performs Osaka with just the right amount of poise that does so well to get across his personality, while also lightening up for his silly moments. Johnny Young Bosch is Johnny Young Goddamn Bosch, so he makes Monsaku sound super cool. Johnny Young Bosch is Johnny Young Bosch, so his Fubuki is. I feel like there's a problem here. My biggest issue with the Aries dub is the frankly insane amount of multicasting the dub has. Compared to the original, which has a lot of voice actors, the dub has a grand total of 19 voice actors. For another show, this is a perfectly good number, but Inazuma has a lot of characters, and a lot that matter. So you're going to be hearing the same actors again and again over the course of 26 episodes. I'm not gonna sit here and pretend the Japanese original has never double dipped their actors before. Hell, Aries has a literal scene of Yuki Kaji talking to Yuki Kaji, but it happens way more in the dub. Within the first episode, you have Keiji Tang as Michinari, Golem, and Nishikage, and I can't help but think that that's a bit much. This wouldn't even be the most annoying issue, but there's such a gulf of quality in acting from characters voiced by the same person. Let's take Lucien Dodge as an example. He plays 4 relevant named characters and performs them all differently. I think his Hira is his best sounding character. Nosaka sounds quite good as well. His Endo is and his Sakinuma is fucking awful. I appreciate seeing these actors get to show off their range, but I think it wears thin when I'm hearing the same actors again and again in a show that otherwise I don't. Even beyond that, some of the performances are just a little bit more flawed than I would like. Steve Staley plays Hyzaki, and while he isn't bad per se, he's not an ideal Hyzaki cast for me, and also, dude cannot scream to save his life. Really, this one is rough, because I think he'd be cast perfectly as Kido, who is the character right next to Hyzaki, man. It was right there! I can hear it perfectly. But instead, Kido is Bryce Papenbrook again, who, while a perfect Kozomaru, does this really forced, put-on deep voice that just doesn't work for Kido. There's just a lot of these little casting snafus that irk me. Griffin Burns sounds great as Okuiri, but pretty whatever as Kazemaru, Aphrodite, and straight up bad as Hiroto. Nate Wants to Battle, pretty great as Goenji, alright as Tatsuya, honestly really good as Fudo, but he's also so Mayoka and he sounds so forced and unnatural. Brian Beacock, I feel never got a right character. His Genda was so poorly directed, his Atsuya is okay, him as Lee is just kinda weird but not bad, but probably bad if Orion got dubbed and that voice came out of this guy. The only one I think worked for me was Oreo. Mizukamiya and Sakuma are voiced by this one guy Tristan Wright, who I've never heard of before or after Aries, but I could tell it was the same guy because they both sound stinking atrocious with this really breathy voice that sounds like he's constantly exhausted and running after the lip flaps. There's also a few instances where an actor's best character isn't even the main one they play. Christina V plays Diet Natsumi, Anna Mikado, and she sounds fine, but she sounds really good as Midorikawa. Jeremy Lay is a great Norika, but I think she sounds even better as Yagami. Richard Epcar plays this guy, but he's a way better cast as Kageyama. I don't know if I would even call this one a criticism, because by all means it's praise, but it's a funny thing. I imagine a scenario where the original series got a dub with these actors, and I think ones like these would be amazing in the original incarnations. It's just a really weird mixed bag. There's also a few points where they just forgot to dub some grunts.
Come on and attack already! Fire tornado! Make the go with this, Aiden!
This is bad. Oh no!
Guys, give it everything you've got to the very end!
That's Sunny right.
And it's really weird and sloppy in a way I don't see out of most dubs. The Aries dub wasn't fantastic, but it was a little bit of fun catching it week to week. Since the Venn diagram of Inazuma 11 Die Hard and Disney XD Die Hard has a really tiny middle, I felt like one of the only ones who was watching the dub. I remember in the servers I was in, tuning into the newest dubbed episodes and relaying the information on who was voicing who, and what the name changes were, and all the direction choices. Fun fact, the show has static credits, so past the first episode, you wouldn't know who was voicing who unless you were in the middle of the Venn diagram of Inazuma 11 Die Hard, Disney XD Die Hard, and stupid ass f***ing voice actor nerd. Who is that? If you ever go on the wiki for any of these characters and wonder, what's the source for this?
Me! The source is me! I did it! I'm the one who put it on the wiki, and I'm probably the reason it's on Wikipedia, and IMDb, and all of those sites. Probably, maybe, I think, because who the hell else would care about any of this besides me? I did it. I'm the one with the ears.
This guy needs to get a real fucking hobby that isn't for losers. The Aries dub was also where I first experienced the new Aries localized names. Asto Inomori, Ryohei Haizaki, and Yuma Osaka were now known as Sunny Wright, Elliot Ember, and Heath Moore. I'm not calling them that. Watch Aries in Japanese. By October 12th, the dub had ended, both in America and most other regions. And it ended not with a bang, not with a boom, not even a fizzle, just sort of poofed out of existence. Nobody watched it. The fans already saw it in Japanese and weren't on Disney XD and sure weren't buying cable packages for it or waking up at 8 in the morning on a Saturday for it. The people with Disney XD weren't watching some random anime they had never fucking heard of. In all honesty, Aries in America was doomed to fail from the start. But it was over and on to greener pastures. Maybe it's greener if you're colorblind? Inazuma 11 SD was the major game release of 2019, a mobile phone gacha game. I'm so interested! At the Tokyo Game Show 2019, instead of showing anything for Aries because they had nothing to show, they focused on showing off this mini mobile game.
Yes, things were that bad.
Which was exactly what I expected it to be. A pocket-sized version of Inazuma 11, for when your other pocket already has the pocket-sized version of Inazuma 11, and your rare plans to have more than 2 pockets. This may have been pointless. It plays using these cute figurine-styled versions of the characters in 5-on-5 matches as you collect characters to build your team and go through matches from across the series. Pretty standard setup and progression for a mobile game. It was a free-to-play gacha game with pretty standard monetization for a franchise-based mobile game.
It sucked ass?
And was announced for release that October, 1 month after TGS. It was clear this was a simple and cheap game made to quickly make some money like Yokai Watch Puni Puni, which single-handedly kept level 5 upvote for the past decade. SD had a very simple style of gameplay and presentation, clearly being a game that would have a fast turnaround. September trailer, October release, quick and easy. On October 31st, Level 5 announced SD was being delayed to the start of December. Okay, something went wrong, but they assured it would release within the first 10 days of December, even having a pre-registration campaign on December 6th, a move you only make if you're sure of the release time. On December 9th, Level 5 announced SD was being delayed to the end of December. Okay, something went wrong again, but they assured it would release within the last 10 days of December, and they would make sure this time that they stick to. On December 23rd, Level 5 announced SD was being delayed January 3rd. Okay! Something went wrong, but they assured it will release on that specific day. And a specific day means they have it set in stone. You don't do that if you aren't sure of the release date. So would you believe that the game actually came out, huh? What the hell happened here? The game looks so tiny and simple. What on earth could have possibly happened to cause that many delays for the dumb little mobile game? I wasn't even that hyped for this shit, but I was still getting mad. It was less about SD and more just a sign of how bad things were going behind the scenes. If even this launch couldn't go smoothly, the actually important games must have been imploding. Speaking of important games, how's that important game coming along? 2019 was ending, and we still didn't know what the situation was with the game that was still slated for 2019. I must apologize. I told a little white lie. There was actually one more post made on the development blog in 2019. Ignoring this one made it seem like the blog was a pretty bad failure, but this one did actually change what I thought, because the blog was the first meaty one. On September 27th, after months of they gave a big update on Aries. Level 5 announced that Aries development was being shifted to be primarily in-house at Level 5 instead of the external studio they were using previously, and they were changing up both the gameplay and the name itself, going from Aries to Inazuma 11 Eutachi no Great Road. This was essentially a full restart, keeping the Aries storyline but changing everything else with an increased emphasis on online play and esports, which put a little bile in my mouth. A little bit more bile in my mouth. Also, the game was getting delayed yet again to spring 2020. A lot more bile in my mouth. Well, at least nothing that bad could happen around the spring of 2020 to make the timeline worse. 2020 was a terrible year for everyone for a lot of virus-related reasons, and complaining about the lack of Inazuma-based content in a year where everything sucked for everyone everywhere would honestly feel a little trivial. But Inazuma 11 is a thing in a where known by ones, and it was a sucky year. Hino wasn't shy about admitting that the coronavirus slowed the development even more than changing core development teams for the third time and switching to a new engine. As I waited for more info on Great Road, the only media I had to engage with was the mobile game. Whoa ho ho! Inazuma 11 SD is a miniature version of Inazuma 11, where you collect figurine-style characters from across the series and face off in 5v5 soccer battles with a pace fit for the mobile phones. I've run out of things to say about it. It is perfectly serviceable. When I ignore the gacha, because even if it wasn't a pain that set up a Japanese currency in my American phone I still wouldn't do that shit, the game is a perfectly fine time waster and poop assister. The only part that super sucked was how all your shots were determined by RNG in a stupid roulette wheel, meaning no matter how weak or strong your team was, there was a chance you could always just fail or get rewarded undeservedly. The only real notable thing about the game was that, like the arcade game, it has a few Hisatsu never seen in the Ares anime, and were probably planned for the actual game. Aside from that, I got nothing. There was the usual gacha game alt costumes, get gambling, but it didn't fill the Ares-shaped hole in my hands, and I had my fill pretty quickly. I stopped playing before they even showed substantial Great Road news. Said substantial Great Road news came in April. Great Road of Heroes was to star an all-new protagonist, Unmei Sasanami, a manager for Raimon. What's with his nose? Out was the Ares storyline, and Great Road was instead gonna be a reboot of sorts, acting as an alternate telling of the first game's football frontier, but with characters from Go and Ares and Orion. Hino said it would be rich with character interactions from all these characters from across the universes, all funneled through the lens of this brand new protagonist, with a new level of freedom to the adventure. With this new vision, new engine, new protagonist, it was starting from damn near scratch. With such a new start, Hino said the game's release date was uncertain. 2021 at the earliest. That sure as hell was in spring 2020. This was a lot of news for Great Road, and the game sounded like absolute dog shit. I hated every piece of news we got here. While it still had some of the bones of Ares, this was not the game I've been waiting for. And after years of strife, what Hino was giving was some dumbass crossover game with characters who shouldn't even be existing at the same time. Hino added the game would take a lot from the recently released Yokai Watch Y Gakuen. I don't want this. Maybe there could be some fun in a what if kind of way, but nothing about Great Road sounded appealing, and it's not like there was gameplay to latch on to. My hype was on an all-time low after this. The game I was looking forward to was pretty much gone, and the replacement seemed like the exact opposite of what I wanted. My faith in Hino was dropping lower and lower, but ironically, the lack of anything concrete gave me hope the next time I saw it, I'd be more positive. I just had to hold on to hope. The year trucked along and things got more dire. The All-Stars arcade game ended service in September, likely due to people not being able to go to arcades considering the pandemic, leaving only the brand new SD to keep the franchise alive. Joy! In September, Hino announced that Great Road was taking a backseat to focus on the new Yokai Watch game, Yokai Watch Jam, Yokai Gakuen Y, YY Gakuen Seikatsu, which launched unfinished with missing story content and a missing multiplayer mode, all which had to be added in post-launch updates. Delightful! Level 5 was having a rough go of it around this time. Yokai Watch was on the decline, there were reports abound of layoffs and overseas branches being shut down, and their only reliable sources of revenue were their two mobile games. Their one mobile game. In December, not even a year after its launch, Inazuma 11 SD shut down. The last piece of a video game based Inazuma content was now gone with the wind, and I didn't like the game. By the end of 2020, the only piece of active Inazuma content was a new manga, Honosuto, Goenji no Hitorigoto, a slice-of-life manga about what Goenji thinks of and does in the time between the matches. But to be honest, wasn't Jones in the ring this one right now considering the state of the franchise? 2020 was a spiral of bad news for the series, and it was a rough being a fan during this time. But when things are at the lowest, there's nowhere to go but up! Or sideways. We wouldn't get any Great Road news until April of 2021. Oh, Hino finally gave a development update on Great Road, this time with video footage of the game. He walked through a little test area, showing Unmei and some characters running around a 3D Raimon environment, and some Hisatsu as he gave updates. He assured development was going in full force, and said he wished for Great Road to be a definitive Inazuma experience, rich in both single-player content and competitive multiplayer matches. He affirmed there would be no cross-media malarkey this time around, solely focusing on the video game, and apologized for the many delays by asserting he'd make the most perfect Inazuma 11 game possible. He then said the game would release in 2023. Do I hear 6? Come on, man. I didn't really like the look or sound of anything I was seeing here. I still didn't mess with the concept of the all-encompassing crossover Festo Great Road. The game looked damn near pre-alpha with awkward animations and miscellaneous character models just thrown around everywhere that screamed test footage. We got nothing. The graphics seemed like a major downgrade from Ares, and seeing all the moves with the same exact animations from the old DS games instead of the remixed Ares animations was such a blow. It was a bummer, and I didn't believe one goddamn bit in the direction the game was going. And after this showing, no shit was gonna be years out. There's nothing here. Still doesn't make it hurt less that I'd be waiting 2 more years for this game. 2023? I'd be graduating college and working by then. For this showcase, I decided I was done. Until I got a sense that this would be a real fucking thing, I was done being an Inazuma 11 fan. Not forever. I still planned to get the game when it really came out, but I put a pause on me engaging in the franchise. I didn't rewatch any of the anime, didn't touch any of the games. I had put it out of mind, out of sight. Not just because I was tired as all get out, but I figured if I ignored it, I feel like it would get here all the sooner. Catch me off guard, like, boom, it's here, let's go now, come now. Cool, but until then, I was done. And so, me being an Inazuma fan was on hiatus until... Dude, that long? In July 2022, Hino did the unthinkable and remembered he had the development block for Ares. He retooled it to present the newest information on the new game, Inazuma 11 Eiyutachi no Victory Road. With another new name comes another new vision. But like, half a new vision this time. The protag was still Unmei Sasanami, but it was changed, so story mode would be centered around him, a fully original tale, where instead of old characters, he gathers a team of entirely new characters. For yet unknown reasons, Unmei can't play soccer, so he takes on the role of a manager and builds his team from scratch. The old idea of having all the old characters was being retooled into a separate chronicle mode. Thank God! My fear of this being a nonsense crossover fest was gone. We were getting an original story, and what little details there were seemed promising. The few new character designs shown off were pretty alright. I really like this dude right here, and more than that, it seemed more confident in that really sad Great Road video. I was beginning to get some hype back. Of course, still waiting to see a full trailer before I decided to get really hype, but I began to feel something again. I was beginning to get my love back for the series, actively seeking out stuff about it. Little did I realize one of the worst things would happen in the time since my Inazuma hiatus. One of the top 3 worst things to happen in 2020 had launched a new region called Inazuma, and because of how ungodly popular the game Genshin Impact was, despite how predatory and dog everything about it is, I could no longer safely look up Inazuma on Google without bearing witness to the bane of my existence. Gotta play second fiddle to one of the worst games of all time? Shit's rough, dude. The year moved along with not a whole lot more information, but for the first time, that didn't upset me much. I fully believe this time, the game was coming along smoothly. Hino showed a few screenshots on the anniversary, including one of this interesting new rival character, and when Japan beat Spain in the World Cup that year, Hino celebrated the victory by showing off some character models. In December, we got our first footage of Victory Road of Heroes, showing their finalized look at the match gameplay, showing off the variety of gameplay styles from a touchscreen mode that emulated the feel on the DS stylus-based gameplay, to a regular controller TV setup. The options were aplenty, and while it wasn't anything crazy and did look a bit slow, it was nothing a bit of tweaking couldn't fix. Promise was present, and I was feeling something again. Hino promised a blowout of news. 2022 put a little spark of hope in me that the game was actually real for really real this time, and I waited for bated breath to see what was to come. In 2023, all signs were pointing to go. Gasp! Not that go! Oh, thank God! They almost were filled with piss. Not only did it seem like Inazuma was going to finally come out, Level 5 as a company somehow seemed like they were poised for a major comeback. In the February Nintendo Direct of that year, they announced a brand new IP Deca Police. Shout out to my jobless at the time ass recognizing it was Level 5 because of the art style and the voice actors. I should get an interest that's worth a damn. There was also a new Fantasy Life and a new Professor Layton. With a lineup of those, Megaton Musashi, and of course my Inazuma 11 Victory Road. Hold up! I can read that without thinking. Those are English words and letters I know. That's a worldwide logo. Oh, it's It's time! The March level 5 vision was going to prove to be brick-shittingly triumphant. At this point, it's obvious how this goes. Ended up being oh! Decapolice and the rest were cool and all, like really cool, really cool, especially for Decapolice. But Victory Road blew me away. The cinematics on display were gorgeous, them changing studios from the tried and true OLM to MAPPA, who were the talk of the town at the time for Jujutsu Kaisen, Attack on Titan, Chainsaw Man, and severe crunch and horrible working conditions. The game looked graphically solid enough to satiate me, the new Kyushu setting was interesting, and there were a bunch of cool new characters to just look at. Unmei's apparent right-hand man Sakurazaki, rival dude Yagyu, chill dude Kisoji, Shinohara girl, and a striker, wow! This guy, that guy, the main antagonist Haru Endo, OG Mamoru Endo's son, wow, holy shit. And Raimon's the final boss this time, and the gameplay was looking great. 4,500 characters to recruit, fucking everyone from the whole series is in Chronicle mode. No shot I can get whoever I want, this is insane! Everything was looking clean, and relatively complete. I was down, so down with this game. It was gonna be awesome. And there was so much intentionally left a mystery, but so exciting all the while. No release date, but that's fine. The game was looking packed and better, yet concrete. This was for sure coming out this year. For the first time in a while, I had no bitching to do. I felt it. Like a bolt of lightning, I was struck with this feeling I hadn't felt in years. Hype, passion, a feeling so positive I can't even think of a third adjective. I wanted more. I am, and always have been, and always will be a goddamn Inazuma 11 fan. From there, the spark wouldn't go out. I started watching the series again and again. I came out my games and started playing them. I watched Inazuma content, listened to the music, just looked at it. And I even eventually got to reading the Goenji spin-off manga. And it actually kinda rules. Art's pretty simple, and I don't love vertical reading, but the scenarios are consistently pretty funny, and I like seeing Goenji being a silly little guy. I felt it. 2023 was the year of Inazuma. 2023 was the year of level 5. All of a sudden, it went from a dry spell to Hino not shutting the up about Victory Road. Throughout the coming months, there was so much info coming out about Victory Road, it was almost suffocating. In the right spaces. For Victory Road's promotion, Hino contracted a bunch of Japanese content creators as ambassadors and periodically held meetings giving them new information which they would then relay to the public. If you were in the know and on and translating lots and lots of Japanese tweets, you were getting so much new info constantly. But if you had a job and a life, the dry spells were back again. I don't know what Hino was thinking, having the ambassadors be the primary source for a lot of this info. It was so cumbersome to learn more info about this game. You had the development blog, which would have been a way more convenient source, but those, while updating frequently enough I guess, could have been a way more comfortable method than YouTuber tweets. There were tidbits one wouldn't know until multiple trailers later that were revealed in these ambassador meetings, like the game getting a freaking dub. It was really weird, and maybe used Twitter, which is a crime that shouldn't have gone unpunished. The Spanish speakers did it for me. As for said information, holy smokes, this game was jam-packed, and he was jamming even more. Hino announced a bunch of brand new systems to matches. Focus battles with these funny hand symbols that translated DS gameplay into a real-time console format. A slow-mo zone play at the goal, where you could slow down and think about your options more clearly. Real-time scrambles as passes fly to other players. Very prominently, the series TP system was changed from individual character points to a team-wide gauge, fundamentally changing how many Hisatsu you could do per character. They all seemed like they would spice up the gameplay, but I couldn't help be a little weirded out that they were implementing so many new features this late into development. Like, that's almost the whole match system change and we're this late into the game. I couldn't be too mad because the gameplay with these new features definitely looked way more fun than before. Hino also went a whole hog into the online mode, with not just online play, but full-on scheduled tournaments with seasons and everything. You'd be able to have a team of seasonal players for tournaments for only that set amount of tournament seasons, as well as 5 players of your choice to make eternal players who you could use forever. This aspect confused me, and years later would prove to still confuse me. Questions were coming back. No! Characters now had passive abilities and rarities, meaning there would be a lot more minutia in regards to team building. Seeing all these levels and passives and things and stuff, I had to remind myself what game I was looking at. Said passives and rarities would change up the characters a lot, so this endo might work better here, while this rarer endo is stronger, but maybe this endo has better passives for the team setup, and you can collect more of these character spirits to grind up your characters and level them up.
Can we chill out a bit?
He kept adding new features and mechanics and showing me all these diagrams and crap. The game was starting to look overcomplicated. Oh no, the seeds of doubt are coming back. Call me a stupid f***ing idiot, but I don't think Inazuma needs all this to be a fun game. These gacha gamey, looter shootery mechanics weren't hyping me up for the game, but the cool story mode content did cushion the blow a little bit. Not helping was the lack of info on how scouting would even work, which I was praying it would be good because it had sucked ass for the past few games, and this would be the worst game for scouting to suck ass in. There was so much info flooding in for Victory Road, but something was missing. The second level 5 vision of the year had me feeling like I was going through a time loop. The Victory Road trailer showed off a bunch of mechanics, including the ones mentioned throughout the year like the scrambles and the zones, but also some yet unrevealed mechanics from past games like shot chains, long shots, shot blocks, tactics, essential elements for the gameplay at this point. In addition, they announced— oh my god! On the story mode side, they teased a new type of battle outside of soccer called focus battles, which had me curious because they sounded like regular ass JRPG turn-based battles, which sounded weird as piss for this series. Most prominently, a worldwide simultaneous release was announced, along with an open beta set for March 2024.
That's cool. Wait.
Game impressively would have crossplay and cross saves, which also bigger games don't even have, so you can go from Switch to PS4 and the newly confirmed PS5 version and even the mobile versions. They're still trying to make that one happen. The game was coming to everything except Xbox and Steam. Just kidding, a Steam port was announced days later because I'm not kidding, Hino forgot he hadn't already announced it. I can't stand his ass. The vision also had this awkwardly long segment with Unmei and Haru talking strategy about one of Nagamaharo's upcoming matches. Hino said the cutscene is later in the game, so I don't know why they even bothered showing it. It's neat I guess, but not even I was all that interested. For anyone watching the vision to see primarily this guy, watching two anime boys talk about stats and numbers about some match they have no context for or interest in must have been miserable.
Oh my lord, stop!
Yeah, I'm right there with you.
They also changed the logo. Which one do I like better?
The old one.
The year ended with one more ambassador meeting. Man. But they mostly elaborated on a few of the— oh my god! But they also dropped a really cool sounding tidbit, and all the Nagamahara characters shown thus far would be all the mandatory characters, and the rest of the team would be chosen by the player. They didn't elaborate or show any of them, but just the idea alone excited me. Scouting had always been an important but optional part of the series, so incorporating it more heavily was very intriguing to me. But we'd have to wait to see more in 2024 because despite it all, the game did not launch this year. 2023 was a real whirlwind. From the highs of getting literally f***ing anything, to the constant information that, well, awkwardly delivered, kept interest, at least for the diehards who snacked on every single crumb Hino gave. Thanks, company CEO! This year had a whole feast of crumbs, but no cake. Going in, he seemed confident about the 2023 release date. By the time TGS hit and wow, Jack! And the level 5 vision hit and wow, shit! I knew it wasn't making this year, but next year would have a demo. I would get to play the game! Surely that meant release was on the horizon, and I would get my first taste of Victory Road in 2024 was the big year. I know I said it last time, and that time, and that time. But this was the time! The beta would be playable, and the game was set to make a splash with a worldwide release. Within the first month, the 48 playable characters for the beta were announced, with a lineup that screams, we love the piss out of Inazuma 11 too. Barring Hichikata, every major new character introduced in 2 was playable in the beta, and the big surprise third team was literally Elia Academy themed. That's just not super fair. You should strive to give an equal representation to the wide breadth of your series. And it shouldn't be so lopsided to just one entry, that just shows an obvious bias. Besides that, there was a healthy smattering of characters from across the series, with a special f*** you to Galaxy and a slightly less harsh f*** you to Orion. No Ichihoshi despite the Orion kit being in the beta, but hey, at least he got all these Alia girls! Lopsided lineup aside, I had my team all planned out. I had my team all planned out, and I was ready for the beta in March. More info was released, still through the ambassadors. I'm going back in! More details were given, like how I think I'll just wait for the beta. Hino had full confidence in this beta, saying players could be entertained for a solid 30 hours. Yeah, okay dude, let's bump the brakes a bit, it's still a demo. He took his sweet ass time with this one. Stop me if you've heard that one before. The demo was due for March 28th, a date he did not announce until a week beforehand. A trailer premiered and proved to the people that Hino wasn't pulling the wool over our eyes. In a week, the game would be playable to the masses for the first time ever. I'm the masses. This trailer was the first time we actually saw English footage or just non-Japanese footage of the game at all. Mind you, it was announced here, and here, and here. It also officially showed more of my behated dub names, including for the new characters. Unmei Sasanami was localized as Destin Billows. I'm not calling him that. March 28th was the big day. I grabbed my Switch and turned on Inazuma 11 Victory Road Worldwide Beta Test Demo. Leave your Inazuma mark on the world. That's the name of the demo on my console. I think they could have taken a few words off. Regardless, I was in, and dude, just hearing those menu sounds got me all giddy. Even if it wasn't the full game, I was happy to have anything in my hands. The beta was a staggered release, launching with only the competition mode, the story mode coming later. I got my team ready, and after... let me play the game, man! I played a full match, and then I played another, and another, and another, and I couldn't stop playing the game. It was fun. It was really fun. I was having an absolute blast. Victory Road felt correct. The Inazuma formula translated really well to a console format. It felt consistently engaging, and I think that's the most important part to get right. At every stage of play, whether it be shooting, midfield play, or defense, the game always had me actively doing something. Most of the mechanics felt very natural and came together well to form an easy to understand and very enjoyable experience. In a lot of sports anime, Inazuma included, there's this element where a character spends whole minutes thinking about all the possibilities of an action that in reality will take like 2 seconds. And Zone makes me feel like I'm actively playing that trope. It's pretty awesome. When attacking in the zone, you can take time to readjust your position and get your shot past the defenders or pass to the other forwards, or you can pass it back or take an instant shot to not give the defenders any time to build their walls. And on the defense side, you can reposition your defenders to form these castle walls to help block shots or better position ones who have shot blocks, like the wall or Senpujin. The TP change too is honestly amazing. In the old games, you'd have some characters who do one cool move and then to the bench with you, Kiyama. I've gotta save my 40 rice balls. What if I need them for the final boss? The tension gauge lets the whole team be useful consistently. Honestly, I can't go back. And there are little mechanics I like too, like how passing the ball around without getting it taken will very slightly increase the power of shots, which reminded me ever so slightly of the greatest Mario spin-off game to ever exist. I loved it. There was a specific moment where it all clicked. I had a strong shot going into my goal, maybe it was the fire tornado, I don't quite remember. And Kogore's Senpujin wasn't quite enough to block it by itself. Tachimukai won him with Mugen in the hand, but the shot was still too strong. It was getting in the goal. But because of how I placed my defense, Kariya was behind Tachimukai and last second stopped the shot. It was a moment straight out of the anime. I knew then and there that this game was gonna hit just right. I had some quibbles, however. I love the tension gauge, but it has the adverse effect of making substitutions kind of pointless unless you want a specific move or ability on the field. I think the keeper gauge is a little overtuned, but I can't think of an alternative that wouldn't be underpowered. Breach. Breach was the worst mechanic ever added. A critical hit where sometimes shots, no matter how weak or strong, had a chance of just going in. There was an inverse save mechanic that would do the opposite, blocking any shots no matter what. But either way, this sucked a whole lot, and was the second thing I wouldn't think I'm complaining about in the Inazuma post. A survey opened up to get worldwide feedback. But despite my issues, the game overall was so much fun, and I believe the issues would be ironed out in the Inazuma post. I heard so many different requests for features and fixes, like bringing back all sides which were gone for some reason, fix breach, specific character changes, fix breach, letting us use the Japanese names, fix breach, some online issues, fix breach, UI fixes, fix breach, and a whole list of other things. Most of these requests were answered pretty quickly because the Victory Road beta got a lot of updates. The first update would contain most of the fixes based on the Inazuma post feedback, as well as the story mode and an additional character, Beta from Chronostone. Because it's a beta! Pun entirely intended on Hino's part. The update was scheduled for early May. The update was delayed to late May. Just once can one thing go smoothly? May 20th, the update dropped with a frankly absurd amount of changes, fixes, and additions. I was gobsmacked to see how quickly they addressed a lot of issues, even with the small delay. I had to hand it to Hino. I was even more gobsmacked to hear that the beta reached 1 million downloads. This was surreal to know that so many people were playing Inazuma 11. Sure, most of them probably aren't here, or anywhere here, but it still felt nice to hear that the game had some audience. The big draw of this update was, of course, Chapter 1 of the story mode, and if there's one thing I can call this, it's different. Victory Road's story feels immediately different from other stories. There's no bright, cheery, soccer-loving boy here. Our new protagonist, Unmei, is kind of a dick. Compared to previous stories, the setup in Victory Road is deliberately a lot slower. It's mostly Unmei walking around, analyzing stuff, as we get introduced to a couple of other characters like Sakurazaki and Kisoji. Chapter 1 prioritizes its core few characters and introducing the players to focus squabbles. There aren't even any soccer battles in Chapter 1. It's a weird start to an Inazuma 11 game for sure. Narratively though, it's pretty great. When it comes down to brass tacks, not a whole lot actively happens in the story. Unmei has his first day of school, tells Kisoji to f off when he tries to hang out, sees Sakurazaki fight some thugs in an alley and goes, "Damn, those legs are strong." He intervenes and gets piped in the head, saved by Sakurazaki and taken to the hospital. In their first real conversation, Unmei talks about how perfect Sakurazaki's legs are for soccer. He is obsessed with this dude's legs. From then on, he goes full Unmei mode and learns everything he can about Sakurazaki. They become something that kinda resembles friends a little bit, I think. Walk home and fight those thugs again in a really annoying battle. Then it ends with a big climactic scene, introducing the baseball club led by the rough and tumble Tsuruga Yagyu, who treats soccer like trash. And the scene leads to this big emotional moment with Unmei belting it all out to Sakurazaki. He gets really into how his disability has really affected his mental state, and how he can't do the one thing he loves, and how that really just breaks him up inside. And he tells Sakurazaki not to just quit just because the school or his dad say he can't play soccer. That if he's wasting his gift, give it to him. It's a really strong emotional scene. It's really good. The voice acting is top notch, and even if it's kinda early, I feel the emotion in it. We're acquainted enough with Unmei and Sakurazaki by this point that I feel both their struggles, and it's so satisfying seeing Sakurazaki decide to listen to Unmei at the end. Despite only being a chapter in, I already got more invested in Unmei than Tenma and Asto. Now, granted, he was starting from 0, so he's already above Tenma, but he had to work to get above Asto. Like, a little bit. The ending stinger teasing Raimon and Hokyo, with Arata from Mikage Senno, the original, as the coach, was a pretty cool way to cap off the story mode that I would say successfully gripped me. Narratively, I think this might just be the strongest start to an Inazuma storyline yet. Now that said, this is a video game that I play with buttons and sticks. There's still gameplay to this video game, and it is gameplay in this video game. I enjoy walking around and seeing the sights and reading the funny dialogue from the NPCs, but Chapter 1's gameplay consists of the new focus squabbles, turn-based battles you'd find in any Dragon Quest like. I enjoy them in a presentation sense. A lot are just people accosting Unmei and him telling them to f off, but they're kinda slow and basic. They have a sort of classic Final Fantasy ATB system to them. The enemies don't pause while you take your turn, but at least initially, they were so slow and kinda boring. Especially before you get Sakurazaki. Every battle is against multiple enemies, so it is a slog. Squabbles are cute, but not very fun. The final fight in the demo against the 3 thugs, while you do have 2 party members, felt like it just came down to luck more than actual skill. I had to hope I got a critical hit and that they kept missing their attacks, because otherwise I would just lose every single time, and I didn't like it. I was not loving the battle system, and my pervasive thought throughout was, I just want to play soccer. Loved the story, didn't love the gameplay, but I felt confident that it would get better as they made more interesting encounters and I got more party members. And of course, I still had the Inazuma post to make complaints. And those complaints would be somewhat addressed in the next big update. On July 18th, the new version launched exclusively on PlayStation and Steam, the official debut of the series outside of Nintendo. I know I played this, but I'm not counting this. Don't really know why they couldn't update the Switch version again to have this new content, but whatever. I stopped trying to understand this man long ago. Luckily, cross saves allowed me to transfer my save file over, so I was ready to go on Steam. The update had improved graphics due to being on not the Switch. Don't ask me to point out the differences, all these words are fake to me. Improvements to the focus battles and additions like a map and markers, among others. More story was added too, fully finishing chapter 1 with Unmei challenging Yagi to a soccer match after Kisoji joined the crew, and a big boss fight against a giant yokai creature. He just can't keep the weirdness in his pants. It wasn't a whole lot more, but I enjoyed the extra content. The focus battles were already getting more enjoyable, and I like seeing more of Kisoji and the newly formed trio. The dialogue between all three of them was really good, and the character interactions as a whole are what I was most looking forward to in the story. Also, you can pet the cats now. Apparently, a lot of people asked for this, because of course they did. For competition mode, most of the changes were purely visual, like changing Kazemaru's hair to resemble his original style and not the Ares Orion style, giving Kido his proper blue cape for his Raimon kit, giving characters like Rika or Gazelle their proper uniform style, giving Endo his Melanin back, and increasing Ovita's boob size.
The essentials.
This was the last major update to the beta, and after doing the story content and trying the bullshit hard level 50 alien master team a few times, I had my fill of the beta. Kino said playtime could go up to 30 hours, and I spent 50 hours. I gotta hand it to Hino again, but I've only got 2, so I'm out of hands to give him. Whether it's a sign of how fun the beta was, or my desperation for a new Inazuma thing to play, who f***ing knows. But the beta was an undeniable success, gaining at least 2 million players and keeping me entertained. Considering how many patches they made in the demo alone, clearly there was a lot of feedback they took to heart, and I felt more confident than ever that the game was both nearby and going to be good. I mean, I just played a pretty polished rendition of the game. How could it not be soon? And it wasn't just me. There was a general air of hope and positivity from both fans and seemingly internally at level 5. They hosted a whole tournament for the beta with all the fixings, influencers, commentators, even some of the voice actors for the characters in different represented regions of Japan. It was a real event, and the winner of the tournament even got his character in Victory Road. During the finals, level 5 had a whole slew of announcements. Inazuma 11 the Movie 2025, a new film compiling Season 1 as well as cutscenes from Chapter 1 of Victory Road for a theatrical release. Why? A trainer mode, where the players play on their own and you just coach them and give them orders like in Football Manager. Why? They showed more of this mode at Tokyo Game Show that year, and while it didn't look poorly made, I did not know what the point of it was. And the last announcement was that at the level 5 Vision that year, they would unveil 2 new Victory Road systems. Why? Those were the main announcements, the rest being some random merchant stuff and a popularity poll, with results that range from no duh to huh? My guys Kogure and Toko and Tsunami scored so low, and I really want to know what all of the Goka fans are like on their day-to-day lives. Why the f*** is he so high? But while the tournament was cool, there was still no release date. No matter, because for that, I was confident it would be revealed in the Level 5 Vision 2024. This was delayed from April to the summer, and it took place on September 24th. Last I checked, that is fall and not summer, but according to Akihiro Hino, if I can go to the beach, it's still summer. I can, have, and will hate on this man, but damn, that's a good line. Once again, being a full company direct, it wasn't all about me, as the Vision featured their other games besides Inazuma. Fantasy Life got delayed, Professor Layton got delayed, Decapolice got delayed, Victory Road got delayed, and with no new games out besides a flop, they announced a full Inazuma 11 1 remake and a new not Yokai Watch game called Holy Horror Mansion, which featured AI generated content. What the hell was that? That had to have been one of the poorest showings I have ever seen from any game company at a presentation. Nothing but delays and new games that looked like piss from a dick, shit from an ass, and a pretty nice cupcake. Just kidding, it's more shit from an ass! Some were more fathomable than others, but for Inazuma, there was a beta! The game was supposed to be soon! It just happened! But they showed a character creator, town builder, a whole ass new project, and the game was now coming halfway through the next year! Hino, what the f was this? I've been worrying for a while about Victory Road's sheer scope collapsing in on itself, and this presentation made damn sure my fears were founded. Hino kept adding and tweaking and adding some more. His drive to make the most perfect and definitive Inazuma game going way beyond the initial scope of the game, and it put a sour taste in my mouth.
A delay is one thing. 8 delays is 7 more things.
And then for a while, nothing happened! 2025. This was the year. This was the year. It's for sure. It's the year. It's the year. Level 5 was still in the middle of shutting the f up about Victory Road until they announced the final presentation for April 11th. This would be the one to end them all. The one of ones! The last one! It would show all the breadth of content and the release date. The final release date. I waited with bated breath for that presentation. I wanted to see cool stuff and that definitive June release date. There was a lot of info given over the course of 40 minutes, and the pacing was excellent. At no point was lingering on shit I didn't care about, and even the segment with the shit I didn't get a rat's ass about was over and done within a minute. Every mode shown off was mostly good looking, but they all had one big piece of stink in them. The Chronicle mode was way higher budget than I expected, showing off a surprising Chronostone connection with its own unique protagonist and a big dumb stupid ass story to it. I'm saying that with a smile. The matches too were way higher effort than I was expecting, but the Ares and Orion stories wouldn't be coming until after release, which disappointed me since I wanted to play those the most considering the entirety of everything I've been saying. The competition mode still looked good, but they brought back every single gimmick from the Go games that sucked. My English teachers did always teach me about repetitive phrasing, so I should have said this. They even added 2 more, and surprisingly, more poop in the shit pile only gets smellier. The story mode was the only segment where I had no qualms. It all just looked good. The big reveal was the official showing of the selectable team members. 5 are choosable from a pool of 10, and this is such a neat feature, and the designs of them are so good. It adds a nice wrinkle to new playthroughs too. It's a great usage of the longtime staple of the franchise. I would say the biggest low with the showcase was the disappointing reveal that the game would be a digital-only release, no physical in sight, and the game would be $70, which is rough. On the brightest side possible, there was a release date. It wasn't June, but it was August 21st. There was not just a season, year, or month, no. There was a concrete, singular day the game would be released. You don't do this unless you're confident you finalized the project. I was in awe. It was finally coming out, for real, with extra assurance from Hino that it was for real, and this was the release date. If that wasn't enough, there was a pre-release roadmap. This was it! I could not have been more hyped after this showcase. That's a lie, but I was still pretty damn hyped. The game would be for really reals in my hands soon, and so many things excited me. I even managed to decide on the 5 characters I was adding to my team. Damn it! Alongside the end of May cast interview that didn't show anything to note whatsoever, it turned out there wasn't a pool of 10 characters, it was 15! I mean, it's cool, but f you! See, the 10 selectable characters were all voiced by Japanese content creators and VTubers. I dry heave just thinking about it. But to alleviate the backlash from this decision, 5 more characters were added, voiced by familiar voice actors for the Inazuma franchise. Hino came out with a whole video like he did an internet crime. He put VTubers in the game, that's worse than most crimes, and phrased it as if he added the characters in response to the backlash from fans, but that would be an insane turnaround time. So I think it's more likely he did it preemptively, or the response was to internal staff and some kind of focus group. Said new characters were Mr. Surfer Deuterino El Grande Akiyumi Hamana, kinda stepping on Best Boy's toes, but okay. Country Girl Musubi Fukura, unique body type you don't see often, especially for a female character. Kelvin Tetsuno, whose name is fucking Kelvin. I like this funny weird dude. Inazuma isn't Inazuma without funny weird dudes. Butler Boy Raimon Kurahara. This has to be intentional, right? And Rocker Girl Mikana Hoshi, who based on the reactions I saw afterwards, seems to be far and away the fan favorite of all these 15. Thanks to Hino's tomfoolery, I was forced to rethink my entire team. It was hard enough with 10 choices, 15 is so hard! Now there's enough for Bianca, Nara, and Deborah to pick their own 5. In the time between this trailer and the June story trailer, Fantasy Life I released. This doesn't have jack diddly dick to do with Inazuma, but it's worth mentioning because despite Hino bumbling around for eons, the game sold like hotokeki. It cracked 1 million sales in the first week and gave me a weird sense of relief. Well, maybe Victory Road could do well after all. Or maybe it was a fluke, who the heck knows? I've learned with level 5, never get too complacent. Next on the roadmap was the story trailer, Only thing was, this was false advertising. Sure, I guess it was a trailer that showed off story mode based stuff, but it was just an AMV with the game's ending song, which, by the way, is a weird thing to reveal 2 months before the game is out. Surely it wouldn't kill them to wait a bit. It looked like dozens of hours to even hear this song in game. I'm mighty glad they didn't show much of anything. I get to be more surprised. But why waste my time? Before the final trailer arrived, there was a bit of a surprise. Victory Road was collabing with the company Soyogi Fractal and adding Yuki Kaji's AI YouTuber avatar character Soyogi to the game as a scout character. Outside the fact that I have no idea what I just said, I could only think, where's you think to announce before any of the stable level 5 guest characters? And everyone deserves to have someone love them as much as Akihiro Kino loves Yuki Kaji. Before the final trailer arrived, there was a much easier to parse surprise, as the Stupid Dumb Recap movie released on digital in the beginning of July, which meant my Delawarean ass could now watch it.
Oh, that was a waste of time.
With just 1 month left and the final trailer imminent, hype was climbing higher and higher, and on July 18th, it dropped. A new video on Level 5's channel. The final trailer, surely. A bit early, they've been known to wait until the last minute for these trailers. Wait. It's something else. Inazuma 11 Victory Road. Notice of release date change. Wait, really? Which? But it's, but no, but What do you mean? No, huh? Wait a minute. It's 10, well, don't you argue. No, what? Huh? What do you mean? What are you talking? Why? What the kind of fucking bullshit is this, Hino? I can't believe this. There was an definitive ass date set in stone. How could this happen? Hino seems so confident in the August release date, but clearly I can never trust this man again. The main reason for this 10th delay was the voice recording. Apparently, coordinating with over 250 voice actors on the Japanese side alone for story mode, and recording every single match of the recording mode, along with the new super duper confirmed English dub, only for common story mode scenarios, as well as 7 different localizations. Who would've thought that would take a while? No sh. As a consolation prize for this delay, they gave out a free Bontown item. Give me nothing! That'd be less insulting! Oh wait, it's also delayed because they're tweaking the match system still, and in the video, it looked worse. The defense radius was widened, and it looks weird now. They zip into place, and it's this awkward looking animation, and focus balls look like they take so much longer to start now. The game just looks annoyingly slower now. The gall of Hino to do this to me, and the gallor of him to sneak in one of the best announcements in this ass, poopy ass, doo-doo ass video. Players can switch between the localized name and the original Japanese names, so now officially, I'm not calling him that. This was one of the most requested features, at least in my circles, but I thought there was no way they'd implement it, and I'm super glad they did. I don't know another game where you can unlocalize it manually like this, and as a long-time dub name hater, vindication! I welcome this with open arms. But not even my most wanted thing was enough to wash off the stink of the 10th delay! 10! Double digits! And with this last delay, the post-launch roadmap was delayed accordingly, some of the content into the next year even. Which means, after all was said and done, that Inazuma 11 Aries was announced in 2016, and Inazuma 11 Aries will be playable in 2026! Out of every delay, this one caused the most outcry. I saw tons of people canceling the pre-orders and generally being positively pissed. So much bitching, so much moaning, and it was all so justified. Instead of the game releasing in August, all we were getting was the music video for the ending song, which frankly, I couldn't give 2 shits about. I'm beyond numb at this point. This is just funny to me. After this, it was back to my favorite game.
Victory Road?
No, not this one. I'm not playing it yet. Waiting! Everyone does it, and I'm still doing it! The anniversary passed, and instead of the game, we got a cool picture of the Dragon Tornado. I like that move from Goenji and Somioka. That's a cool move. Where's the video game? We also got some wallpapers with character renders. These are some cool artworks. I like Takuzo Nagano. I should be playing the game right now. Victory Road showed up in the September Nintendo Direct, aka Nintendo's worst direct of all time, for like 5 seconds. It showed off Sakurazaki's new solo move, Go no Isen, a completely original and unique Hisatsu. Neato! I should be playing the game right now. And then it's TGS time again. Woo! I should be playing the game right now. TGS didn't really have anything substantial. A pretty okay trailer showing off a couple new moves, an RNG wheel thing for the returning dual typhoon tactic, which reminded me of worse times, and some footage of the Chronicle Mode Takeoku match, which we just saw in the delay video. No? It was the most updated build though, so we gotta look at the English version with the Japanese character names. It's a dream come true! TGS showed off the game's opening too, and for a while, it was hard to find footage of this thing. I first saw the opening in motion from my friend who lives in Japan and went to TGS. Anyway, after seeing the opening, it was good, but now I totally believe Hino when he said he added those 5 characters last minute, because none of them are in the opening. TGS was lame as all get out this time around, but maybe that was a blessing in disguise, because with the game just around the corner this time for sure, I'm so tired, I'm so tired! I was content to be done learning new info, but oh, no bad news. God, this man has traumatized me! On October 14th, with just 1 month left to go before the game's released, Hino announced a special livestream called Inadai for the 21st. And I debated whether or not to even watch it, because I was okay not getting more new info. Ooh! Last time. The same day, they started a countdown, and more than any of the many times before, this felt like it. There's a lot of things you don't do when you're sure of a release date, and a lot of things Love Hive has done that were kinda stinky. But a countdown is like the most something you don't do if you aren't super duper or else it's a pooper sure of the release date. The game was closer than ever before, and they shown just enough to where I knew what I was hype about and not hype about, and I wanted to see no more. I feel like it always gets rarer and rarer to ever go into a game or any piece of media truly blind. Info is always being released, and people, especially online, being the hungry little content goblins they are, they all eat up every piece of info to the point where so many surprises in the games aren't even surprises anymore. And companies want to increase excitement as much as possible, so in so many cases, here's everything! Whoa! I mean, the game's still good, but I kinda knew everything. Ares fell into this too. By the time it aired, they had revealed most of the teams already, which took out a little of the fun, and leaks made ding dang damn sure I knew most Hisatsu before they showed up proper. I feel like the amount they showed for Victory Road is perfect. Not too little to where I didn't know what anything was, but not too much to where they showed the whole f***ing game. This was a chance to go in one of my longest awaited games of all time and experience most of it blind with no context, and I wanted to cherish that. There was the upcoming Inadai stream, which I decided I don't need to watch that. And the final trailer, which again, don't need to watch that. There was the early access launch event on November 10th, which I didn't need to watch since I had just seen the final trailers, plural. No! I'm the content goblin. This was it, the final stretch. The final trailers were out, and there was nothing more on the roadmap except for the release of Inazuma 11 Victory Road. And the post-launch Chronicle Mode content, which is the crap I actually won. Nope, I have achieved peace. I am at a zenful hype state. I shall bitch no longer. And with that, there was nothing left to do but wait as the countdown ticked down to the fateful release date of Destiny. Very funny showing these guys when they sure aren't going to be there on release. Back to the countdown. Wait, another trailer? Oh, it's the same one. Oh, wait a minute, but the dub's here this time. Ooh, let me see what it sounds like.
Sup, you two? Mind if I join this juicy conversation?
No! I just want to play football. I promise we'll be the best in Japan!
Wow, I didn't know dubs were still allowed to be this bad. Oops, wrong personality trait. And so I come to the end of my journey. The end of the road to Victory Road. Ah! Yeah, I didn't get it out of the way, did I? Whew. Oh my god, what a long time coming it's been. From the highs and the lows of getting some things and getting other things taken away, from Ares to Orion to Great Road to Victory Road to every single other thing in between and all of the happenings that went on, it has been the wildest ride I've ever gone on waiting for in anything ever. It's honestly kind of surreal that it's over. It feels like for so much of my life, it's been in a constant state of waiting for Inazuma something to come out. And now that it's coming to an end, with all the fun parts that happen in between, am I gonna miss this wait? Hell no! Are you kidding me? Do you know how long I've been waiting for this? But it was kind of fun. Not only was it a weird, wild, crazy, painful hype cycle, it was a pretty enjoyable hype cycle, all things considered. So many moments of, oh, let's go, we're here. And so many moments of, oh, no, it's over, it's not happening anymore. There's just so much that happened, and I can't believe I actually went through all of that. 2016, man. I was in the sophomore year of high school when this game was announced, and now I'm 25 years old. When it was first announced, Yokai Watch 3 was coming out in Japan. And now Yokai Watch is dead! When this game was announced, the Straw Hats were in Whole Cake Island, and all of Wano happened throughout my college life. Then the Egghead arc happened, and now they're in Elbaf. They're in Elbaf and Risky Road's coming out! When this game was first announced, the newest Sonic game was Sonic Boom Rise of Lyric. And since then there was Sonic Boom Fire and Ice, Sonic Mania, Sonic Forces, Team Sonic Racing, Sonic Mania Plus, Sonic Frontiers, Sonic Superstars, Sonic and Shadow Generations, Sonic Racing Cross Worlds, so many random mobile games, 3 whole movies, 2 shows, and when this game was announced, the IDW comics weren't even a thing, and now there's over 100 published issues collectively. When this game was first announced, Fire Emblem Heroes was a simple little mobile game that made sense, and now it's... When this game was announced, we still didn't know what the Nintendo Switch was, and now there's 2 whole Switches out! So much time has passed, so many things have happened in the time I'm waiting for Victory Road. Life has changed fundamentally. The whole COVID pandemic thing happened and changed how so many places and so many people live their lives. Before this game was announced, AI wasn't a thing, and generative AI and ChatGPT and all that weren't these big prolific things. When this game was announced, Hino hadn't found his newest love yet. I said the same thing twice. When this game was announced, I don't know, just so much! It's crazy! But now, it's finally here. Inazuma 11 Victory Road is actually a real game that's happening, and it's gonna come out, and it's coming out, and it's come out, and I can play it! I never thought this day would come. And honestly, if most other people were making this game, it wouldn't happen. It's clear that at some point, this was just a passion project for Hino, just something to give to the fans and to satisfy himself. He wasn't worried about the wider market or anything like that, and most other companies would have canceled this game like 10 times over. But Hino stuck it out. And I have made fun of him so many times and will continue to do so in the future, but I have to say, he's committed. No matter what I can say, he absolutely gives a shit. He absolutely cares to make the most definitive, perfect, feature-filled, chunky game you can think of. He clearly put his everything into this game. Maybe too much everything. Regardless, this is his full intended vision, whatever that entails. And that's kinda beautiful in a way. And I'm gonna play it. I'm playing the game. It's finally about to happen. For real. For really real. No matter how I end up enjoying the game, whether it's my favorite game ever, or my least favorite game ever, that's not gonna happen, or any sort of thing in between those two extremes, all I have to say is genuinely from the bottom of my heart, all the way down in my organ parts, thank you, Akihiro Hino. Thank you for sticking to your guns and making the game no matter how it turns out to be. It's commendable, genuinely. But I suppose that's it. There's nothing else left to really say. I guess, with the road done, from 2016 to 2025, November, now we're here. So there's nothing left to do but to play Inazuma 11 Victory Road. With the original Japanese names too. I can't believe that actually happened, dude. I'm so excited I could pee. I blame Ito for everything.